Good evening, race fans, and welcome to Podium Esports' coverage of the third race for Season 6 of the Monday Night Racing Pro Series presented by Interstate Batteries and the Tufco 80, live from the virtual Daytona International Speedway in Daytona Beach, Florida, and this installment with the road course. Glad to have you right here on Podium Esports. We're alongside Jacob Hitz in the broadcast booth. My name is Kenneth Bueno. We'll have Ryan Bauer producing all the shots you'll see this evening. He's using cameras provided by Dougie Beard. Well, Jacob, 1 week ago, we had the idea of Chase Cabre leading and running away from the field with a huge gap all the way to the win at Twin Rainbow, taking with the ARCA cars. Tonight, though, that idea gets thrown out of the window. It's one of the most competitive combos that we've ever seen in the history of Monday Night Racing. We're ready for another installment of outrageously intense, close action when we get the green flag tonight.
That's right, Kenneth. And even though we think of Daytona as a plate track, when we go to the road course, that doesn't always line up. But with the Miatas, it absolutely does. And it's going to be neck and neck pretty much the whole way. Things are a little bit different from the race that we had here in the playoffs last season. Number one, the race is 10 minutes longer. No halfway caution this time around. And the fuel tanks, they can hold a little bit less this time around. Only 35% capacity, was 40% a season ago. So with all of those changes, these drivers really have a new race. That's going to open up strategy a little bit more for these guys now that they have less fuel. And they're also going to be racing for a little bit longer. So with that, these guys aren't going to be able to rely on the same strategy they used at the end of last season in order to go to victory lane. So the gang of Schildhouse, Alfredo, Garrett Smithley, they're all back in the Discord again tonight, but what they do tonight is going to be different than what they did to go to victory lane here last season.
It's going to be a wildly different approach, that's right, if you do want to win this race. And usually this race, over the past couple of seasons, it has become somewhat of a cult classic with how good the racing has been and how entertained we've been in the booth. But again, tonight, completely different race, a different format, so we'll just see how things all shake out. But I do also want to keep ourselves looking at the rearview mirror a little bit. Twin Ring Motegi, our last race, it was the first time in a long time, Jacob, we went to that part of the world in sim with the ARCA Menard Series cars, and was Chase Cabre, only in his second Monday night racing start, taking his first win in convincing fashion. It was one that really tested the field, a lot of cautions, a lot of tire strategy. That long 40-odd lap run really set us for the checkered flag, and Chase Cabre an unbelievable win by 3.9 seconds and becomes the second different winner in Season 6 so far.
Yeah, you had 7 cautions in the first half of the race, and then we went green the rest of the way. So you had the crash fest at the beginning, and then at the end, Chase Cabre just thumped the field. Nobody could get to him. That clean air was so crucial, and he was so fast while saving his tires. That was the most amazing thing out of all of that, is Cabre was so quick all night long, and he was clearly able to save enough tire. And even though Colin Fern tried the strategy route like he did at the end of the season last year, he just couldn't quite pull it together. It ran out of time. Cabre got to him with too many laps left, and he just couldn't hold him off. And, you know, maybe we'll see Colin Fern try and pull some different strategy again tonight. Maybe he thinks he won't quite have the speed to get the job done. We're just going to have to wait and see on that front. But if Cabre can keep that pace up the rest of the way, I know we've got a lot of different racetracks coming up. Another road course, CTMP on the way. We go to Indianapolis in the Indy cars in a couple of weeks. Texas, I believe, is next week. If you can keep that momentum up as we get closer and closer to the playoffs, maybe he's peaking too early in the season, but man, he's got to be somebody that you're looking at to go deep into the playoffs at this point.
And you also got to look at it, Jacob, as the trend continuing of rookie drivers already showing out in the first couple of races of the season. We saw Presley Sora do roughly the same thing last season on his way to a championship in his debut season. Maybe Cabre can do the same, and there's a lot of other new drivers in this M&R season that we've also yet to really detail about, and they're starting to come up through the ranks as well. So it's all a matter of time as we get things set for tonight's Daytona Road Course race and the Tufco 80 with the MX-5 Miatas. Well, in a couple of days, we do have Thanksgiving. We'll have ourselves hanging with some of our family, eating some of our favorite foods, and we wanted to know which is the best meal for each and every M&R driver, and we got their thoughts. Take a look.
Favorite Thanksgiving meal, all of it, everything at Thanksgiving. No matter what household you come from, everybody's got their own mix of it, but I don't know, just the meal of Thanksgiving. Doesn't necessarily have to be a specific item on the menu, just being with friends and family and some good food. That's what my favorite part is.
Favorite Thanksgiving meal, gotta have ham. I don't like turkey. And the cream corn, my aunt makes this cream corn, so good. It's like between the ham and that, I could eat that and probably like a muffin of some sort, and I'll be dialed in.
So I am a big turkey sandwich guy. I'm honestly not big on like a lot of the sides and stuff. Like I don't like stuffing. I'm not a big mashed potatoes guy. So at Thanksgiving dinner, I'm always the guy eating a turkey sandwich and usually chips.
Love some mashed potatoes and gravy. Throw a little turkey on there. So my family does ham as well. So you get those two combos with some mashed potatoes and gravy and stuffing. I'm a happy man.
I mean, traditional turkey, mashed potatoes, dressing, cranberries. I like to make cranberry sauce from fresh cranberries, although nobody else in our household eats it. I'm the only one, so I'll make a pot of that. But
probably the day after Thanksgiving when you can have the white meat with some yellow mustard on a sandwich, with a little toasted bun.
I am a huge fan of mashed potatoes and stuffing.
Man, this is unpopular opinion. I like Thanksgiving as far as everyone getting together and celebrating it and eating together as a family. But as far as the food, I'm a pretty picky eater, so this is going to be unpopular opinion, but I'm not a huge fan of Thanksgiving food. The turkey, I mean, it's good, but if I never had to eat it again, I would probably be okay with it.
Oh man, ham. You gotta have ham at Thanksgiving.
Turkey and gravy. Love it.
I think turkey sucks. Gravy is terrible. All that stuff. If it was so great, we'd have it more than once or twice a year. So I'm gonna go with a good homemade pizza.
Favorite Thanksgiving meal is whatever your parents are cooking, because that was one of the best Thanksgivings I've ever had last year. The Ford Martin estate is the place to be for Thanksgiving, but I'm a traditionalist, man. Like turkey, mashed potatoes, some green beans, sweet potatoes, banana pudding or banana bread pudding, whatever your mom makes. That was really, really good. Pumpkin pie, I'm sort of like, whatever, could do without it. Cranberries, big fan of cranberries. I know that's a very divisive thing. Not everybody likes cranberries, but I'm team cranberry.
Gotta love some of the options, Jacob, that they all presented for the Thanksgiving meals. I cannot go wrong with a little old mac and cheese, always the best meal ever on Thanksgiving, Jacob. I don't know exactly what you eat on Thanksgiving because there's so many options, and Thanksgiving is I think like an underrated holiday in a little bit. It's so much fun. You get to gather around with the family. You get to eat some really good food, too.
Well, and it's such a regional thing, too, because up here in the north, we don't really do mac and cheese. But I know down in the south, you do, right? It's just, it kind of depends on where you are. For me, and this got introduced to me, I don't know, 5-6 years ago, it's pineapple stuffing. So freaking good. It's almost more of a dessert than anything, but it is top tier. Top tier.
I've never heard of that before. Maybe that's something we don't do in the South here in Miami. I don't know. But
I don't know if anybody else does it, but I don't care. All I know is it's good.
You know what? If I go up there, I'll try some of it. We'll see. All right, just a couple of moments before we get the green flag here in the Tufco 80 here for Season 6 of the Monday Night Racing Pro Series presented by Interstate Batteries. But don't go anywhere. We've got more for you on the other side of the break to the green flag in just a couple of moments. We'll be right back with our coverage on Podium Esports.
Visit our website at tufcoflooring.com.
Get the edge on your competition with P8 Performance Gummies. Formulated specifically for gamers and the esports industry, we packed our gummies with all the good stuff, including ingredients that are clinically proven to help tired eyes, improve reaction times, and help suppress computer vision syndrome. Take your focus and endurance to the next level and try P8 Gummies today. Now available at Procelerate.com. Plus, if you're mad about gaming, we're looking to partner with influencers just like you. Drop us a line at support at Procelerate.com to see if you qualify to try our gummies for free. It's officially game on with all new P8 gummies.
I ain't tryna bring you down, but for real, you might as well give up now. Think you got a chance, but I don't see how. Got a real tight grip when I hold that crown. My life been good and bad and all around. The more things I lost, the more I found. Everybody wanna be like us, we don't stop, cause the top just ain't enough. I'm the first one in and the last one out. Whoever owns the place gotta drag me out. Came here ready to fight on this night, you better just run for your life.
This is an Interstate battery. More pros trust this than any other out there. Yeah, more pros. More. Even more pros. Keep going, Moss. Look, we're gonna run out of time before we run out of pros who like Interstate. I mean, we'll run out of time before we even run out of left-handed pros who knit. These pros are everywhere, which means so is this battery. Right around the corner, up the street, everywhere. Interstate batteries, outrageously dependable.
Welcome back to our coverage of the Tufco 80 for Season 6 of the Monday Night Racing Pro Series presented by Interstate Batteries, and all of it right here on Podium Esports. And Jacob, I know unfortunately we don't have Blake with us in the booth tonight, but he does have a pick, and so does everyone else. This is arguably probably the worst part of the broadcast for me because I already know how deep of a hole I'm in. I see you laughing right now. It has been tough for me at the beginning of the season, but I know for everybody else, it's been a lot of fun picking, and I hope everybody is picking at home as well. Let's get through our picks, see exactly who we're all choosing for tonight's race with the MX-5s at the Daytona Road Course. Jacob, I'll let you start it off. You've got the number 17, Adam Cabot, Season 4 champion.
Yeah, just trying to cushion the lead that I have, that's all. Chase Cabry did pretty well. No incidents and in the win, so I pretty much maxed out in points. And I've got Blake close behind me. Alex LeBay is a pretty good pick. He was high atop the board in practice. I'm still going Adam Cabot. He had a really strong car last season. He finished 4th. And the only reason that happened is because Schildhouse and Garrett Smithley got hooked together and just blew by him on the front straightaway. If Cabot can find some friends up at the front of the field, I like the odds that the number 17 has tonight. Adam Cabot, my pick to go to victory lane.
Was able to get to the end in the top 5 last season. We'll see if he can do it all over again. Eric has got Colin Fern in the 86. I did have him in mind. The driver of the 86 was a very aggressive driver last season's edition with this race, and he was very good at it. So no surprise that Colin Fern, one of the top dogs in this Monday Night Racing Pro Series presented by Interstate Batteries. We'll see if Fern can accomplish Eric's wishes of the pick. Blake, though, has got the newcomer, Alex LeBay, in the number 36. And like you said, Jacob, one of the fastest, if not the fastest in practice, and even topping the qualifying charts right now. He may have our pole award by the time this all is ending in a couple of minutes' time, the qualifying session. And LeBay actually had a pretty solid outing over at Twin Wing Motegi not too long ago. 1 week passed. He finished 11th in that race and went all up and down through the field. It was a lot of fun watching him wheel that race car. So he's got LeBay, but I've got the number 7 of Will Rogers. He was also in the top 5 1 season ago at the end of the race, and obviously got freight trained by the likes of Garrett Smithley, David Schildhouse, and the likes. But Rogers was there. Give him a couple of more inches, make him a little bit closer, and Rogers is definitely a formidable candidate to be up at the front. So hopefully this can gain me some more points by the time the end of the night is through, but we'll just see. I'm trying to be on the comeback for this entire season. All right, so we've got through our picks, we've got through all of that, but now, Jacob, let's take a look at the nitty-gritty of what we're expecting here at this Daytona International Speedway. We're running first with our race analysis, and Jacob, there are a lot of changes from one season past that we do have to mention.
Yeah, talked about that in the beginning a little bit. It's an 80-minute long race. Last season, it was 70 minutes, so they added 10 minutes onto the clock, and that's going to make things interesting because you look at the fuel load. Last year, it was 40% capacity. The drivers asked for them to lower it last season. Admins agreed, so they lowered it to 40%. This time around, it's 35. So you've got a little less fuel in the car, and you've got a longer race. So that means fuel savings is going to be key. That's also going to open up the window for strategy a little bit more. You're not going to be able to do the same thing you did a season ago to make it to the end on a successful strategy. Other than that, relatively the same. Tires are unlimited in this race. That's something new for tonight that we did not see before. And then, as per usual, one fast repair. And we don't intend on seeing any cautions, so you can forget about green-white checkers, just because there's no halfway caution. There won't be any cautions thrown unless 5 or more cars pile on into the wreck. So unless we have a couple of Daytona-like big ones, it's going to be a relatively calm and quick night.
And those two factors, the lack of cautions tonight and the lowering of the fuel percentage, those are the biggest points, just because we had a lot of guys have their backbone of the strategy from that midway caution. A lot of them were hanging on that midway break to set up their strategy for the end of the race. Now that's non-existent, so they have to start from square one when the green flag drops and the whole field unleashes for turn one. Well, this track has been around for as long as ever in Monday Night Racing Pro Series history, and tonight it's no different. We go on the road course though this time around, and Jacob, this track is always so much fun. I know with the Mazda MX-5s, it is somewhat like a plate race, but it still involves a lot of skill when you roll through that infield road course and when you dash through that back straightaway bus stop.
And the bus stop chicane on the back straightaway, one of the toughest parts on this racetrack. The two horseshoes that are inside this racetrack and the infield road course part, those are two very tough corners. And I think an underrated part of this racetrack is turn one. The fact that you're flying down the front straightaway, you get to the start-finish line, and then you basically need to stop on a dime so you can make that first corner. We've seen a lot of guys overshoot turn one, and there's some runoff there, but you've got tire walls and everything over there to keep you from going around and just cutting the entire infield. So you mess up turn one, and that's going to hurt the rest of your lap here. And it's a long way around, 3.5 miles long with these 12 corners here at this racetrack. It is a long, long day if you blow a corner and have to stop. You miss the backstretch chicane and have to stop because you cut the course. That's something that a lot of these guys are going to have to keep in mind. We saw a lot of accidents in the past in the backstretch chicane where they just drive it in too deep. They don't have the grip under them, and they put it into the wall. And this is not a place where you want to tow, because if you tow, you can pretty much forget about your chances of going to victory lane tonight.
And talk about momentum as well, getting that off of the infield road course section and even the bus stop on the back straightaway. That's going to be huge when you set that up for the front straightaway at the tri-oval. We see a lot of big moves made from there, a lot of drivers working together off of those corners, and a lot of change in tides. That's how wild this combo is going to be here from the virtual Daytona International Speedway. Pre-race ceremonies are coming to a close. With that, before we head for the starting grid, we'll send it down trackside for the performance of the national anthem.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we held at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say, does that star-spangled banner yet wave for the land and of the free and the home of the
Cars are ready, track is ready, we're ready for the action here tonight from the virtual Daytona International Speedway and tonight's Tufco 80 in the Monday Night Racing Pro Series presented by Interstate Batteries. Let's head down to the BST Shock starting grid, and your Roasted Gems Coffee Pole Award winner, Canadian Alex LeBay, Blake McCandless's pick, lines up on pole with a 210.279. He'll be the first to see the green flag alongside last week's winner, Chase Cabry, picking up right where he left off on the outside this time in row number one. Newcomer Joey Padgett in the 83. He starts inside of row number 2. In third place, he will have Colin Fern. Eric Estep's pick on the outside in P4. Michael Fisher, solid qualifying effort for him as he is inside the top 5. Jacob hits your pick. Adam Cabot will be to his outside in P6. Ryan Vargas in the 26 will be P7. He'll have Preston Pardis, P Money to his outside in row number 4. Will Rogers lines up in P9. Tonight he'll have Raja Karuth to his outside to finalize the top 10.
Starting in row number 6, Carson Hocevar making his MNR Series debut. He's got James Bickford on the outside. Then in row number 7, Corey Heim, Anthony Alfredo will be door-to-door when we get the green flag. Josh Balicki and Garrett Smithley line up in row number 8. Row number 9, Presley Sora and David Schildhaus. 2 drivers that made it deep into the playoffs. Sora, of course, the reigning series champion. And rounding out the top 20, Gabe Wood lines up next to Bailey Turner in the 5.
As he rode through row 11 and all the rows through that, Reed Wilson, Josh Slate doubling up 21st, 22nd. Justin Malillo will start this race in 23rd with Crypto Autosports' Max Stolnick to his outside in 24th. Olsen lines up the top 5. Nick Olsen does in the number 24. He'll be followed by Jordan Buster in the number 47 in P26. Joey Savagey in the number 43 will have Travis Brown to his outside. They double up for row number 14. League owner Ford Martin will be in P29. He will have Robbie Lyons to his outside inside the top 30.
Stephen Ellis and Gary Sexton in row number 16, 33rd and 34th. Leighton Sabile and Max Kennan. Connor Berry, Charlie Brown. Seth Eggert, Mark Rabillis. Devin Henry, Chris Weaver, your top 40. And I'm going to hurry things up here since the field's in 3 and 4. Brett Baldeck, Dakota Curtis, Michael Massey, Ronnie Osmer, DJ Powell, Brandon Brown, and Case Columbine. Rounding out the field of 47 coming to the green flag.
It's a huge number when they
No,
get
we're not.
to turn number 1, but we just extended the caution flag. Joshua Mendoza race control just did, so it looks like, I guess we didn't really have to rush through our starting grid, and we're going to have a little more time to talk about all of the details that we'll have here in this Tufco 80. We do also want to talk about the weather here at Daytona and how that's also going to affect the competition as well. Ryan Vargas mentioned in the lobby chat in Sim, cold tires going to be a huge factor, and this weather really isn't going to heat things up all too much. 68 degrees in the track temp. It is a pretty chilly night over here in Daytona Beach, Florida. We are in mid-November by this time, so you can expect the weather to get a little bit like this, unlike down here in Miami, but it's only going to get colder, Jacob. The sun's only going to continue to set. The lights are going to flicker on. The grip levels are going to enhance a little bit, but cold tires are going to be the biggest factor, especially when this race stays green all the way with no yellows and you have pit stops in between.
That's the one plus, though, right now in getting this extra lap is try and get some heat into these tires as you're going around the racetrack. Warm them up a little bit, so that way, hopefully, you have a little bit of grip when you go down into the first corner. But that's something I'm a little worried about, Kenneth. Remember, 5 or more cars in an incident is a caution. If you get a big enough wreck going into turn number 1, you're going to be on ice by the time we get a restart going down into turn number 1 because you didn't get very far in the initial start, and now you have to do a restart. It's going to be very, very difficult for those guys, especially the guys that are aggressive toward the back of the field that want to make up a lot of positions. It's going to be killer for them back there, having to take their time and knowing that they're wasting time, literal time, to get toward the front of the field.
It's a game of balance, and also talk about the lack of cautions. That's also going to hurt for single car incidents. They're going to have that little safety net back there to assist them halfway through the race. Let's take a look at our feature matchups and our odds. Of course, brought to you by Grid Rival. These odds are presented to us by Derek Yoder, who's done such a great job of providing all of these with all of the drivers. But I like some of the matchups here tonight, Jacob. Most notably, Chase Cabry and Carson Hocevar. You have Cabry, a new time driver who's already won in his second start, and Carson Hocevar making his very debut here in MNR. And then you've got some of the classics. Colin Fern, Presley Sora, Championship 4 rivals from one season ago. Preston Pardis, Josh Balicki, Gary Sexton, and Ryan Vargas going against each other this week.
Something I find interesting, only one of our picks are up there, and it's Colin Fern that Eric picked. That's really interesting that none of the others, I would have thought Rogers and or Cabot would have been an easy giveaway up there, but I guess you'll see him here on the race winner odds. But Fern still with the best shots out of everybody, I guess tied with Cabot.
Those are big numbers. You look at Presley Sora, who actually won in these MX-5s, not here at the Daytona road course, but over at Martinsville 1 season ago. He's pretty talented with these cars in the sim, and a lot of them just came off of the Moon Car 24 at Martinsville just a couple of days ago. So maybe they've got a little more practice with this car than a lot of people may have anticipated going into tonight's race. So the field doubled up behind the iRacing official pace car. It'll be Alex Labbe, his first ever Roasted Gems Coffee Pole Award given to him in his M&R career. He will have Chase Cabry to his outside, and then everybody else right behind him. A lot of rookie drivers up at the front qualifying well. A lot of the series veterans looking to stay in their place. And as the pace car comes out of turn 4 and into the entrance of pit road, it'll be our third green flag of season 6 in this Monday Night Racing Pro Series presented by Interstate Batteries. Labbe, Cabry to the restart zone, to the green flag, and we're underway in the Tufco 180. Already through the first handful of turns, Fern went wide. He drops to third, but already mostly 3 and 2 wide into the International Horseshoe for the first time. The field scrambling in the sunset as they come for the second part of this infield road course with Alex Labbe in front.
It's a hornet's nest from second on back, I guess, at this point. I mean, just unbelievable how much they fan out going into that first corner, and the fact that they're able to just make it stick throughout the rest of this infield section. You do not have a lot of room for error here. Grass on either side, very little runoff. So these guys are really on thin ice when they're going 2, sometimes 3 wide back here in the middle of a pack. First battle, it's Cabot, Preston Pardis going into the final corner before they get back up onto the main racetrack.
And there was contact there. They were in the middle 3 wide. Raja Karuth had a situation with Carson Hosenbar and Anthony Alfredo coming out of that final corner, and Karuth still having to battle for every last position because Hosenbar to the inside, Corey Heim and James Bickford looking for a spot as well. And Anthony Alfredo already cooping up to the rear end of Will Rogers. They're going to clear the 17 of Adam Cabot. They're still going side by side for the last spot into the top 10. But everybody pretty much second on back have now separated quite a bit. Here's a look from Alex Labbe, the pole sitter, running away. But Joey Padgett, quick work, Jacob, moving his way to second early on.
Oh, they're wrecking into the bus stop. 2 cars around, 3 cars involved. Stephen Ellis, one of them that got turned sideways. Max Kennan's able to sneak his way through. And we stay under green as there was contact between Stephen Ellis and another car getting down into the bus stop chicane. Looks like it was Matt Stolnick in the 41 trying to make it 3 wide on the opening lap.
It's hard to make it 3 wide entering the bus stop, even in normal cars that go way faster. And you look at the incident that happened there and collecting a couple of others as well. It doesn't seem to be race-ending damage for any one of those guys. You'll take a look and see how it all began. There's the 41, Matt Stolnick, that black and gold Mazda MX-5 Miata to the inside of Stephen Ellis, that purple and yellow machine. And then Travis Brown, Moonhead, on the outside, had to back out of that one as they all committed for the corner. Just saw the slight contact. They both go around, and Stolnick drops to 28th. For Stephen Ellis, it'll be a drop all the way to 33rd, and he's behind a whole gaggle of cars around that mid-pack, and especially near some of the drivers in the rear. But we do have a challenge and a change for the race lead. We saw Alex Labbe was in the race lead when we had that slight contact 3 wide. Jacob, he's fallen to 4th, and Joey Padgett moves to P1.
Yeah, the entire field got together in turns 3 and 4, NASCAR 3 and 4, and just push came to shove, and they blew right by Alex Labbe, and that's part of the long straightaways here and the draft. If you've got help, you can go places, and that's what these guys are doing right now to just try and hang in with the leaders, that as long as we've got company, we can get together, we can push, we can make a charge to go to the front.
And that's something that we're going to be typical to see here in this combo. And even one of the races that we've seen in previous history with this combo is that you're going to have the lead change hands so many times. You're going to have positions change hands so many times just because of the draft, just because of the momentum and the huge shift. And as we head down the back straightaway, we may have another challenge for the lead, but Colin Fern going to back out as he gets to the rear end of Padgett's machine. and almost worked about with Chase Cabry there in a P3, and Alex Abay, like we mentioned, has dropped back to P4. He may be under fire now from La Mirada, California's Ryan Vargas, who's deciding to help. And we talk about, Jacob, the mentality you have to have with this combo. It's a road course, yes, and that can throw you off. You do have to master the corners here, most notably in the infield, to keep up with the competition, but you have to treat it like a plate race. You need to have people around you, and as we go 3 wide for the race lead, Cabry and Fern were working together until they did not, and Chase Cabry moves to the lead at the Trial Bowl.
Will Fern give him any room, though, because he dipped below the double yellow line to take that spot away. Fern moves up. He plays nice. As that could have been close here, Fern tries to send it around the outside. Down in turn number 1, maybe hold on to the lead, but Chase Cabry pushes the 86 right by Paget and then says, thank you very much, I'll take the lead.
And you're looking there for 3rd and 4th. Paget, the Tallahassee, Florida native, driving for Team Joyride this MNR season. Right behind him, Michael Fisher, another new driver. Both of these guys certainly doing well in the qualifying efforts and even in the race so far. Here's a look on board with Joey Paget. And Jacob, one of the drivers that we've seen as a rookie perform well that isn't named Chase Cabry is Joey Paget. Immediately with the COTs at Talladega, we saw how good Paget was at keeping himself at the front and even maintaining composure against some of the series veterans. Last week at Twin Ring Motegi's strategy didn't go his way, but he still showed the same prowess. And tonight it appears no different as we take a look at a new driver making his debut in the series, Carson Hocevar, up to 7.
And you know Hocevar is always going to have some speed, and Paget has certainly had that speed all season long. There's no doubt about it. Really interested to see if any of those guys can put something together and put themselves on the same page that Cabry did last week at Twin Ring Motegi. Go out there and win as a rookie. That's really impressive, not only to the broadcasters, not only to the fans, but to the veterans in this league, like David Schildhouse and Will Rogers, Adam Cabot, the guys that have been around the block a time or 2 or 3, that have been here perhaps. Oh, and Hocevar goes around in the bus stop. May have gotten hit by Corey Heim as he apologizes over the radio. Hocevar is coming back up into traffic and almost gets clobbered. Sitting right in the middle of the racetrack. He does get hit hard right in the middle of the bus stop. That's Josh Slate that drop kicked him. And now they got to wait for everybody else to go by. Huge damage for both cars. Remember, they have one faster pair, and they are both stopped. Hocevar has to tow. Massive damage to the driver of the number 48.
And that is not what you have wanted to see as a rookie driver. Look at Hocevar dive into the bus stop. I believe he may have gotten into Alex Abay, goes sideways, gets an extra hit by, I believe, Raja Karuth, and then just comes to a dead stop in the middle of the racing line. And then Josh Slate nowhere he could go by the time Hocevar merges back in a hard hit. And again, we talk about the faster pair offered to each and every driver. You have to make it to pit road first under your own power if you want to use that faster pair and not lose a heap of time. Hocevar moves it to pit road. It looks like Slate might have the same fate. He has also brought it to the lane. I believe he's able to drive it into it. So it looks like Slate may have been the survivor mostly out of the two. But a huge hit and some huge drama for a debut driver as Colin Fern moves to the inside of Joey Paget for the lead coming out of the Daytona infield road course.
Yeah, Hocevar said that he didn't know the rear end was broken the first time around when he was trying to get it back onto the racetrack and get it up to speed. So he got it back on the track and then couldn't go anywhere because the rear end was broken. And he had nowhere to go, just trying to get it back to pit road, trying to tow, trying to do anything to get out of harm's way there. Meanwhile, while we were looking at that, Travis Brown sent it in a mile too deep and punted Justin Malillo. And he lost about a dozen spots before he got it back rolling back in turn number 1. But single car deal, he keeps it rolling after the contact there from Travis. As here comes Ryan Vargas looking for the lead on the inside from Colin Fern, and he'll take it away.
To be quick work there for the 26 of Vargas. He moves past Fern, but again, huge gap, and there's probably going to be draft involved. Here's a look on board with Chase Cabry in the 39. He's going to look underneath Alex Abay. LeBay will give way, and so Cabry will slot into P4, and maybe he'll look for even more this time coming out of NASCAR turn 4. I also did notice somewhat of a second pack developing past 21st. It looked like Lane Sabile is leading somewhat of a small second pack of cars, 22nd on back. Shieldhouse, the last one in the main pack of cars. And you look at this group, 6 cars deep, with Ryan Vargas, Colin Fern going at it for the lead back to turn 1.
Here they go. Let's see if they're able to hold on to it up here. Vargas drives it in deep, but Fern's going to hold on to that top spot for now. Paget slots into 3rd, Cabry 4th, Michael Fisher 5th, and Alex LeBay 6th. Outside of the top 2, it is a new party here, 3rd through 6th, with Paget, Cabry, Fisher, and LeBay. A lot of rookies up here at the front of the field, and even more trying to climb their way through. There's a big hornet's nest from 7th on back. Anthony Alfredo, Raja Caruth, Adam Cabot all in this thing. Corey Heim as well. Garrett Smithley, James Bickford, Josh Balicki among those in this pack. It is tightly knit, and those guys racing very, very hard to try and catch the leaders.
And some of the hardest hitters and the top 5 finishers. Last time we were here at this Daytona road course, you look on board with the driver who's coming in as the defending winner of this race, David Shieldhouse in his Habana Brisa number 20 machine. He's somewhat on the tail end of this group, 18th on forward. There's Will Rogers right in front of him, Nick Olson at the 24, and Shieldhouse and Rogers almost about make contact coming out of the infield road course to the NASCAR banking. But you look at a lot of these guys that finished in the top 5. Garrett Smithley, who came home 2nd in that race. Adam Cabot has dropped down to P8. He finished in P4 in that race. Anthony Alfredo is 7th right now, and he finished inside the top 3. And you've got all these guys in this large group trying to catch up to everybody at the front. And this is what we're going to see, I think, only amplified, Jacob, for the rest of this race, because you don't have that midway race caution. You don't have that instance where if you have such a large gap to everybody in front of you, that could all be dissipated in a matter of seconds. Now, if you have that gap, you got to live with it, and you got to find a way to close it down before the race ends via strategy or some other method.
Just got to be thinking about how can I hang on to the pack, because remember, if you make a mistake getting onto pit road, that could cost you your race more than likely. If you get a pit road penalty, you get track slow down at some point, you have to be smart about that. And that's something that everybody's going to have to think about. They're 3 wide here in the tri-oval. Corey Heim on the bottom, Raja Caruth up on the high side, splitting Anthony Alfredo down into turn number 1 and Adam Cabot. And both drivers are going to make it work. Corey Heim has to stomp on the brakes to make the corner. Adam Cabot almost runs into the back of him, but they make it work going down through turn number 1. Meanwhile, for the lead, here's Fern and Vargas side by side again.
Fern to the inside, and there is a lap car in front of them. That is Carson Hocevar, who did get his fast repair. He's back out on track. We'll see how the field and the lead lap deals with him. But Vargas going to move to the
car off, I think. Man, somebody really took that International Horseshoe really wide. I think it was Cabot. I really thought there was contact there, but no, that's just the racing line. Okay, barely the racing line, I guess, coming off the corner. Sorry, Kenneth. I really thought they were mixing it up back there, but I'm just seeing ghosts, that's all.
And we're also seeing, though, a lot of these guys trying to maximize the brakes on these MX-5 Miatas, because you're not going so fast, which is a huge point to talk about with these cars specifically. If we brought almost any other car to this track, it would probably require a lot more braking power, and you would have to slow these cars down way more to get through the corners. But because these MX-5s aren't going too fast, they have pretty decent brakes. You could dive it very hard in the corner. And I think maybe what we saw with Cabot or whoever ran off there was just them trying their hardest to dive deeper onto the brakes than everybody else, and it may have not worked in their best interest, as Cabot actually falls to 14th. So it might have just been a wide maneuver there for the 17, because he continues to plummet through the running order. And the 17 trying to muster as best as he can and keep up with the field. He's running in between Preston Pardis in 13th and Presley Sora, the number 98 machine, the Shaq Igear car, inside the top 15, as I believe Sora is just going to ride the high side of the banking and let a bunch of drivers by, 3 wide, and Nick Olson looking underneath for P15.
Yeah, Cabot just got pushed wide and got past. That's the only reason that he got a little wide there. But now here we go for the lead. Hocevar gets passed by these leaders. They go down to the apron. He tried to block him, and Fern says no thank you. He's going to bring almost everybody with him downstairs. One car chooses the outside line. That's the 96 of Michael Fisher. He gets stuck 3 wide and can't quite send it in as deep as everybody else. He's going to get nothing out of that. Hocevar falls another lap down, and he falls in right in behind Chase Cabry and won't be able to pass him here going into the horseshoe.
And that's going to open the door up for Ryan Vargas. Colin Fern goes way wide, drops 1, 2, 3, almost 4 spots in one corner. And here comes Alex LeBain, the 36 to challenge. Joey Padgett waiting as well inside the top 6. And so Fern going to have to pick all that back up, and Hocevar in the draft is going to become a factor in this lead lap battle because it may separate first and second. It may add on to the drama from third on back. And you can see Hocevar trying his dearest to get another lap back. He's going to look on the rear end of Cabry. To the left, to the right, he'll dive on the brakes. And Hocevar just in the middle of this group, and Michael Fisher going to look to be inside the top 2 if he can get to Cabry in enough time. And maybe could use Hocevar as a little bit of assistance this time in the draft.
Now, believe it or not, Hocevar's only 1 lap down here. So if he gets back out in front, he will be on the lead lap, but he has to get by these guys. And here's the thing, he's not going to get a caution. So he really needs some help in order to get by, but here comes Cabry. He'll go for the lead. A huge shove from Hocevar. Michael Fisher will come to the back door. 3 cars push on the outside trying to get by Vargas. Cabry will clear. Here's Hocevar around the outside. He'll get clear.
Talk about needing help to make passes here at the Daytona road course in this combo. And Chase Cabry moves to the race lead. Similar sight to what we had 1 week ago at the Twin Ring Motegi circuit. Cabry able to dominate the field and looking to do it all over again. But you just look at how far that gap will close. And here comes Ryan Vargas. He'll look to the rear end of Hocevar. So as Hocevar is somewhat of a pick in all this, unlapping himself, Ryan Vargas is going to use that as a method to get to the lead. Michael Fisher will follow suit. Alex LeBay will stay with the 39. Vargas with a crossover. Michael Fisher looking 3 wide, almost in the middle, got the door shut back to turn 1.
Yeah, Hocevar came down and Vargas came up. Both drivers said, yeah, I don't think so. You're not getting by us, as Hocevar steps it out in turn number 1. Almost contact between him and Michael Fisher. He's able to hold on to the race car, hold on to second on the racetrack, still 1 lap down. Michael Fisher stuck in P number 2. Cabry on his back bumper for P number 3. 1 car tries to shove it in on Anthony Alfredo. That's Joey Padgett. Alfredo slides the tires coming up out of the horseshoe. They're able to hold on, and they all keep it straight.
You look on board with James Bickford, a couple of spots back in P12. So on the far side of this battle here, right behind Anthony Alfredo. Actually, not that's Anthony Alfredo, but Alfredo is going to go huge on a send underneath Corey Heim, who's, I was about to mention, had some good progress to start this race in 13th at the drop of the green, now up to the top 5. And Alfredo will look up top, try to find a way around the long way through. And how about Joey Padgett now going to become the 3rd car in this 3-way battle coming out of the infield road course. And Heim so close, Jacob, to the win at Twin Ring Motegi. One of the better cars apart from Chase Cabry. And if strategy had worked out in his way, and if maybe we had more laps, it could have been that 51 in victory lane once more, who's got a couple of wins to pick off in season 4. And Corey Heim, the NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series driver, looking to step up through as you look on board with Josh Balicki sitting P8.
The 3 wide for the lead with Hocevar up here. Side by side is Vargas and Fisher. Michael Fisher takes the lead going into the bus stop chicane, and he will come out the other side, out in front over Vargas by a car length and a half. Case Kallenbach is sitting on pit road. I'm not quite sure what happened to him. Cut to him while trying to hold out in front with the leaders, but they'll make their way down through NASCAR 3 and 4. Fisher will remain out in front, and you got to think about at this point in time here, Kenneth, the fact that we are closing in on the first round of green flag pit stops. We're completing lap number 8 right here. I think they can only make it about 10-12 laps on a tank of fuel. Here's Fisher. He gets by Hocevar. He drops back down to the bottom, and Vargas won't get off the back bumper of the 96. Fisher leads the lap. He'll lead him back to turn 1.
He'll lead them back, but how long will it last? Vargas going to dive deep on the brakes in turn 1. They're 3 wide in the middle of the top 10. That's Raja Caruth on the outside. Nick Olson looking down low. James Bickford, Preston Pardis, all of them going haywire on the last couple of spots inside that top 10 group. Now Hocevar looks underneath Michael Fisher. Could it be the door open? Yes, it can. Here comes Vargas to the outside and almost 3 wide heading back to the king. But that's a good point you make, Jacob, about the possible pit stops that are going to happen. And then it poses another question for these guys. How do they set themselves up for that entrance into pit road, and who are they going to work with as Cabry goes hard on the brakes inside of Ryan Vargas for second?
Gonna make it work, try and push that 26 a little wide on corner exit. Side by side, headed to the final corner before they get back onto the oval. As Cabry does not have that best line. Vargas drives it in deep. He almost gets to the rear tire. Michael Fisher. Fisher's on the gas. He'll hold on to the lead. Vargas back clear for second as they hit the high banks.
And what a performance for the 96 of Michael Fisher, the rookie driver here in Season 6. And then he's got Ryan Vargas, Chase Cabry chasing behind him. Will they make a move coming out of the NASCAR Turn 2 banking? Answer is going to be no, so they'll wait, but they'll close in that gap. Back to Carson Hocevar, who continues to be the pillar in all of this. Now Fisher drops down low. Vargas indecisive this time through. And you'll have to settle behind Hocevar this time. Just a game of choosing your battles, Jacob, and seeing exactly where you fit, where you don't, and where you can use that momentum. It's such a key part of tonight's race. We've seen it so many times with Michael Fisher going in the lead, and that right there with Ryan Vargas having all options exhausted and having to hang back.
Well, it's like you're on a plate track. You have to make the right decision. You got to go high, you got to go low, you got to go where the run can flourish here. We'll have to find out, as it sounds like Anthony Alfredo, he is going to be coming to pit road right here. So he makes the call late. Garrett Smithley's going to join him. So is David Schildhouse. So is another car. That's Will Rogers. So those four will come onto pit road. Gabe Wood will join them as well. He's a little bit further back. So the window is open. First round of stops. Trouble. Corey Heim is around in turn number 1. Corey Heim was 4 wide going for the lead round the outside. He made contact with the lap car of Carson Hocevar. Heim loses a dozen spots, maybe more, gets back up to speed. He's back in 16th as the leaders are racing through the first horseshoe.
And he was back outside the top 5 before they even got to the trial. We'll had help from Josh Balicki. You watch here, outside 4 wide. And then you just run out of space. Entering that first little kink, entering turn 1 officially, and Heim goes sideways, gets an extra hit by Hocevar. And I believe he's able to escape without any huge damage, but Heim, in result, is going to drop to 16th. Here's another look at it. There's Heim at the top. Hocevar, no space. And they make the contact.
It's the last thing that either guy needed. The only positive for Corey Heim is the fact that pit window is open, so he can pit now and get those tires off that he just scrubbed up by spinning out. The problem is he's back, right now he's in the 13th position. He's a second and a half behind the guys in front of him. Actually 3 seconds back. He's in P12 with some of the guys that have pitted and everything. So tough break early on here for Corey Heim. We'll see if he can get that back rolling, but got Alex LeBay closing it on Vargas. Vargas all over the back door of Fisher here for the lead. He tucks in right behind going into the bus stop for the first time, and he's gonna just sit right there, and that might open up the door for LeBay. He comes to the back bumper. He's looking for second.
And Josh Balicki, sitting 4th right now, has just signaled he's going to come down to pit road. Looks like a couple of others are signaling as well. Brett Baldeck, Chris Weaver. And also to note, the drivers who did pit, one of those last time by, the leader out of that group, Will Rogers, got by the 33 of Anthony Alfredo. He's now moved up to 29th. We're going to keep an eye out on that, as here comes Ryan Vargas, joined by a couple of others. I saw James Bickford swerve out of the way at the very last second. That could have been huge contact between them. Nick Olson is in, Preston Pardis is in, Adam Cabot to follow as well. How about Corey Heim, Raja Caruth, Colin Fern, a large group of guys. Everybody's coming in larger and larger batches each and every lap.
We had trouble, actually, in the last corner coming back on the main racetrack. Remember how I said Corey Heim was 16th and then he was 12th? That's because they wrecked, and he passed it. It was contact between Colin Fern and Rajat Caruth. Bailey Turner got involved. Presley Sora got involved. He popped the motor, I think, or something's broken on that car. He has a meatball. He had to tow back to pit road. So Presley Sora, once again, has bad luck here at Daytona in the Miatas, and he is not going to have a shot to win this race, as he's still on pit road trying to get that car fixed.
We'll see if we can get a replay and dial up exactly what happened with the 98 of Sora. Has a new sponsor this season with Shaq Eye Gear in collaboration with Mamba Media, and this is coming out of the infield road course. There's a look, and bam, just gets sandwiched, and nothing that the 98 could do. And you can imagine, Jacob, that is immediate engine damage for Sora. As here's a look at the contact. That's Colin Fern, Raja Caruth. So they'll stack up. right about here. They'll make the contact as Carruth aims for the crossover. They get Bailey Turner stacked in it, and then Corey Heim slams it in the rear end of the 98, and nothing Sora could do to avoid it in enough time. And you're right, Jacob, another bad card dealt to Sora with this combo at the Daytona Road Course, so he's going to have to look forward to next week with the Xfinity cars at Legacy, Texas. You're watching the battle for the lead continue on. Alex Abey, Michael Fisher, the 96, and the 36 going at it. Two rookie drivers here in season number 6. And it looks like we may have them coming down pit road at least at some point, but they have not decided to do so. We've crossed over 56 minutes left in this Tufco 80, and they go side by side for the lead. Who does James Bickford pick? Absolutely nobody until Michael Fisher comes around. Here's out of turn 4.
Trouble. Gary Sexton is off in the second horseshoe. He's got a black meatball flag. Matt Stolnick got turned around in the first horseshoe, and yeah, that broke the suspension on that 23. He's trying to putt that thing around the racetrack right now, way off the pace, going wide in the last corner, trying to get back onto the racetrack as we watch the leaders crawl down pit road. Just 55 miles an hour is the speed limit down on pit road, but everybody makes it to their box just fine. You're looking for the guys that pitted already. Will Rogers and Anthony Alfredo, they're hooked together. Coming right now through 3 and 4, trying to get back onto the racetrack. Here's Gary Sexton. Now at this point, he's already had the contact with Stolnick going around, and the suspension's just broke, and he goes straight gear, winds up in the tires, and he's just trying to limp that bad boy back home.
Tough there for Gary Sexton. He's going to look at a lot of
I think
drivers.
we've got more trouble. Separate incidents. Brett Baldeck has a meatball. He got a little too wide and bounced it off the tires. Maybe. No, he broke it before then. Hold on. Yeah, okay. Contact. Is that DJ Powell? It is. So those two got together. We've got pandemonium all over the place. Powell spun on his own. Then a little bit later, he made contact with Bailey Turner, who spun.
Oh,
and
trouble.
then
LeBay's around out of the International Horseshoe. Just went around all by himself. I'm sorry to cut you out there, Jacob, but you look at the incident between DJ Powell and Brett Baldeck, but Alex LeBay, who just came out of pit road, went for a single car spin, cold tires, biting the Canadian in the infield section.
Cold tires, we talked about it right at the top. Ryan Vargas pointed that out to the drivers, that, hey, be smart on cold tires on this initial start. Didn't think about on a pit stop cycle, did they? Well, Alex LeBay found out the hard way, and he's just going to have to keep that in mind the rest of the way. It's a pandemonium here at Daytona.
Yeah, I think pandemonium is the right way to describe it. Here's a look at LeBay. You think there'd be contact, but no, the cold tires just get him right here as he applies the throttle right in front of Joey Padgett. Absolutely gorgeous job by the 83. Hop on the brakes and notice that in enough time, got away without any damage and didn't collect anybody else in it. So the Bay just goes for a single car spin. Meanwhile, we go 3 wide and settled for the race lead on the bus stop in the back straightaway. Ryan Vargas surges back ahead. Cabot with absolutely nowhere to go. You talk about all the guys who pitted first. Anthony Alfredo, Will Rogers in that group. All of them settling for second and third on back.
Yeah, it's a nice little battle right back up here toward the front as we ride on board with Nick Olson. Side by side for third between Adam Cabot and Will Rogers, as Alfredo and Vargas just trying to scoot away from everybody else right now.
You look at Nick Olson in the number 24, now riding 6, started back in 25th, so it's been a great move up through the field at this point for the Grit Esports machine. And now here comes Adam Cabot to settle it all by himself for P1 in a turn 1, side by side with Rogers. That gets moved out quickly, and here comes Preston Pardis to potentially make it 3 wide in the midst of the top 5, and Adam Cabot to the point here at Daytona.
And Rogers got drop kicked back to 4th. Gabe Wood is a black flag. Believe he cut the course, didn't slow down in time, so he's still on the racetrack. He's going to have to serve that penalty that he has. These guys get a furrow black flag. What that means is you cut the course, you need to give some time up. Usually it's anywhere in the range of 1 second to 5 seconds that you have to give up time-wise in a certain amount of time. Usually gives you about 30 seconds to give up. If you don't give it up, after those 30 seconds are done, you're given a black flag and you have to come down onto pit road. More than likely, it was in the bus stop for Gabe Wood. That's typically what happens is you get the black flag, you try and burn it coming through NASCAR 3 and 4 back to the start-finish line, and usually it expires by the time you get to the start-finish line. So if you haven't taken care of it by then, you're in trouble and going to have to visit pit road a little early.
Cutting the course is a huge part, something we really didn't dial in. It's definitely not super easy to do at a track like Daytona where there's a lot of grass in the corners themselves, but it is still possible. And you just saw that example right there as here comes Anthony Alfredo to the inside. We'll monitor that for a second. We'll see if Pardis has anything to say about it coming into the bus stop. But Adam Cabot, your leader so far here from the virtual Daytona International Speedway. Well, just a reminder that our coverage of the Tufco 80 live on Podium Esports is brought to you by Tufco Flooring. Tufco Flooring is an industrial flooring company specializing in custom floors and drains. Tufco doesn't believe in the one-size-fits-all approach, and neither should you. Tufco listens to your needs and requirements and develops custom solutions for every single client. For more information and to learn more, you can visit their website at tufcoflooring.com. Here comes absolutely everybody for the lead against Adam Cabot. 3 wide, heading into the tri-oval. Vargas, Preston Pardis going at it back to turn 1. 3 versus 2, inside, outside.
And you're probably thinking, whoa, Vargas gets hit by Alfredo. They're leaning on each other down into turn number 1. Alfredo goes around on the inside. Everybody takes evasive action to get by. Alfredo's car parked up against the pit wall down on the inside. He backs up, almost gets drop kicked by Colin Fern. Fern comes over the radio, wants to know what he's doing. Meanwhile, as I was going to say, you wonder why this place, we talk about it as a plate track. That's exactly why. Using the draft down the straightaway, they get so congested and then they fan out down the front straightaway, coming to the start-finish line. We'll take a look at the replay here, just sending it in too deep as we ride on board with Alfredo. He makes contact here with the 26 Ryan Vargas, and he just can't save it once he gets off the brakes right here and goes for a ride. Good news is he didn't hit anybody and just barely nosed it into the inside wall, so he should be okay, but he lost a lot of track position as a result.
And track position, that's going to affect the strategy. Remember, Alfredo, along with a couple of others, were the earliest to pit in that first sequence as we're going to slowly step into our second batch of green flag stops. He is coupled with Garrett Smithley, who was on the same strategy as Alfredo, so maybe there could be some cooperation on that end. But with the fact that he had just gotten to P1 and was in the top 3, top 5, and now has that all robbed away by that sorry mistake, that little mistake entering turn 1, hopping a little bit too hard on the brakes. That's going to cost him a lot. We'll see how he adjusts accordingly heading into this next stint as they come down for pit road, hopefully sooner than later. A lot of these guys already on lap 3 of their stints respectively, so we should have that in just a little bit. Ryan Vargas looking to the outside of Preston Pardis for the lead. Rogers is going to follow suit. They've got Adam Cabot and Chase Cabry working together, so we may see another 3 wide situation. Indeed, we will. Coming out of NASCAR turn 4, there goes Cabot to the outside. They check up in the middle. Pardis has nowhere to go. Cabry's going to ditch the 17, and they're going to come up on a lap car again. And once more, Jacob, it's Carson Hocevar, so we may have some more fun this time by.
Probably saying, remember me, guys? I'm sure some of these guys aren't as thrilled that they're catching Carson Hocevar, but we'll see if they can get by him without any incident this time around as Cabot takes the lead, headed down through the S's toward the first horseshoe. Vargas in second. Preston Pardis third. Will Rogers, Chase Cabry side-by-side for fourth. And that battle is done right as I speak it into existence. Rogers takes that spot away. Side-by-side a little further back. Paget on the outside. Michael Fisher on the inside. 2 of the newer guys just trying to hold on.
Look at all these guys battling for the inside of the top 20. That's Joey Savagine, the number 43. He swerves by. Travis Brown going to make his way through into P20. And in this is David Schildhaus. Again, the defending winner of this combo from 1 season ago was in that place via strategy. At the end, surged ahead to the lead with help from Garrett Smithley. And now he's having to mess through the mid-pack and hopefully find a way in the next 47 minutes or so to get to the front. If you're Schildhaus at this point, Jacob, you don't necessarily have a lot of teammates around you. Is there any way you can try your hardest to get with your teammates or to get to the front in this second stint?
The only way I can think it would be possible is if his teammates have a longer pit stop and take 4 tires, and he either takes 2 tires, or more likely no tires, try and get with them. Other than that, it's a huge gap, and I don't know if Schildhaus is going to be able to make that up on his own. But, I mean, other than race number 1, he had a decent race going at Twin Ring Motegi. Nothing really to write home about, but he still had a decent showing. Today, different story. It's been a rough race so far for David Schildhouse.
He finished 16th in that Twin Ring Motegi race 1 week ago, and after what looked like a fantastic start to the season with the COTs at Talladega, even though Garrett Smithley got to victory lane, Schildhouse was still happy with his finish, and all that momentum coming out of race 1. And it looks like things have not gone his way since, as Carson Hocevar is now in the middle of all of this. Vargas gives a huge shove to Preston Pardis, and it looks like Rogers is trying to find his way in the midst. 3 wide back into turn 1, and Rogers almost about stuffed it into the rear end of Carson Hocevar. He slams into it, but Pardis goes wide off of the corner, and they head for the International Horseshoe door to door, 2 rows deep.
Smart move by Ryan Vargas just to get the heck out of the way. He's seen these guys fanned out 3 wide in front of him. He got on the brakes, pulled to the other lane just in case there was contact. He would not be in harm's way. Loses another spot to Nick Olson, but right now I'm sure he'll take that over the alternative, an erect race car. Preston Pardis leading the way. Will Rogers trying to rip position away on the racetrack from Carson Hocevar. Again, he's a lap down. Cabot's in 3rd. Here comes Nick Olson, sending it on Cabry for 4th. He'll take it away. Vargas peaks for 5th. Won't be able to drop the hammer and get alongside him. Headed to the final corner before they get back onto the oval. Preston Pardis leads Will Rogers. Hocevar sits 3rd on the racetrack, but remember, he's still a lap down.
And they've got Case Collenbach, a lap car in front of them, so it may not just be 1, maybe 2. It looks like Collenbach will drop to the apron. The Case Collenbach Racing driver, the number 84, looks like he's going to back out, so he's going to let everybody by. And so will not be in the midst of the draft, and we'll just let them settle amongst themselves. Olsen trying to pick up from a tough finish at Twin Ring Motegi 1 week ago. He finished 23rd. Wasn't absolutely the race for the Grit Esports driver, but Olsen has made significant progress as we are 3 wide in the middle of the back straightaway, and one of them not for the race lead. That was Pardis and Rogers going at it. The 7 going to cross over into the bus stop. He'll hip check the numbers, I believe the number 48 machine of Carson Hocevar. Looked a little bit weird there on the angle, but Hocevar going to be in the midst of all this. They made contact. They seem to be okay, and they go side by side again, this time out of turn 4.
How about Cabot? He goes to the aid of Hocevar. He'll hook up to the back bumper. He wants Hocevar to stay in the action and keep mixing it up. Here comes Cabry, the rookie. He'll go 3 wide, down on that yellow line for the lead. Vargas almost puts Olsen in the grass behind him, and here comes Cabry. He'll retake the lead. Vargas with the run. He's boxed in behind Cabot. Move that 39 to position number 1 as Hocevar gets eaten alive in the middle of the pack. Almost contact with Ryan Vargas and Will Rogers.
Hocevar is trying his best to survive in turn 1, and remember the contact that he had 4 wide with Corey Heim. Does not want that to happen again as Vargas moves to the outside of the International Horseshoe. Cabot's going to move up as well. They're both going to slide high. It looks like Rogers and Cabot will, so it opens the gap to the 39 to Chase Cabry, and it has invited absolutely everybody to the party. Nick Olson, James Bickford, Corey Heim, who went around earlier in tonight's race, Joey Padgett, who didn't take any tires on his last stop, Josh Palicki, Michael Fisher, everybody inside the top 10, and even some of the top 15 in this battle trying to catch that 39.
And how about some of the faces that are in this lead battle? Reed Wilson, he's at the tail end of this group. He has had an impressive run so far. Florida with the top 10 a couple of laps ago. A really strong run for the driver of the 66. You right on board there with Corey Heim. Heim back up inside the top 10, trying to get his way back up to the front. He'll look to the inside of Ryan Vargas. Vargas tries to squeeze into a hole that's just not there. He'll lose another spot to the driver of the 51.
And there are teammates in this mix as well. You mentioned there for Reed Wilson, the 66, part of Team Joyride. He's got his teammate Joey Padgett in the 83, a couple of spots ahead in P9. So watch that as well. They may work together if they get a little closer on the track. Rogers slips through that bus stop. A gorgeous shot of the whole field coming by inside the top 15 with 42 minutes and change left in tonight's Tufco 80. And we are approaching halfway through the stint, so we should see sooner than later these guys coming in for their second batch of green flag stops. So as we're still green and Chase Cabry continues to try and hold on to P1 here at the virtual Daytona International Speedway, we will remind you that our coverage here of the Monday Night Racing Pro Series presented by Interstate Batteries is presented by Interstate Batteries. Built to top industry standards, Interstate Batteries has been the technician's choice for 9 years and counting. powered by a distributor network of 300 wholesale warehouses and backed up by more than 150,000 dealers around the world with 200 all-battery center franchise stores. Interstate seeks to deliver the most trustworthy source of power to the world every single day. Interstate Batteries, outrageously dependable. Still at it for P1 out of the International Horseshoe. Preston Pardis, Adam Cabot, Will Rogers have all grouped up together, first, second, and third, with Carson Hocevar in that 48 machine trying to unlap himself still in front of the entire field. And it is only going to get crazier as Cabry dives deep on the brakes looking for a 2-for-1. He might get it for third.
How about some of the teammates, though? Alfredo, Smithley, and Schildhaus just pulled onto pit road. We're getting close to that point now where they're going to have to pit again. You got to keep in mind, we've got about 40 minutes left. They were able to make it 11 or so laps on a tank of fuel. So if you save and play your cards right, maybe there's a shot to make it here on just one more stop. I wouldn't think so, though. I would think you're going to have to make 2 at this point since we're halfway in the race in about 45 seconds from now.
They would have to save, and one thing as well, Jacob, they're going to have to use the draft, but there's going to be somebody in that group at some point that's going to be the front end of it, is going to be the main leader, and they're going to burn the most fuel. And also, you don't want to lose so much time to the leaders that by the time they all pit, then you don't have track position at the end of it. Again, we don't have that safety net of a midway caution break to be the saving grace for everybody who has a strategy go awry or just has their gaps way too large in comparison to the rest of the field. Here's on board with P Money, Preston Pardis in the 42, Chase Cabry looking to go against him for the lead, but he notices third and fourth, Cabot and Rogers working together near the double yellow line. So he will stay tucked up behind that 42, and now here comes Cabot all by himself. Now here comes Cabry to launch on the get-go with help from Rogers and Corey Heim, making it another car entering turn 1.
Here comes Cabot round the outside. He's got the advantage, trying to put a little squeeze on Cabry. Washes up the racetrack coming through turn number 1. Cabot still out in front, door to door, side by side, through the S's. Cabot with the preferred line going into the International Horseshoe. Give the race lead to car number 17. Adam Cabot back to the front.
We'll see how long you'll last, so that's the typical nature of a race like this with these MX-5s at Daytona. Here's a look on board from your race leader and Season 4 champion as he looks back on Chase Cabry heading into the second horseshoe, heading for the exit of the infield road course. Cabry going to go hard.
Oh, trouble! One car gets turned around going into the horseshoe. It's Josh Bilicki. He was up inside the top number 10. He got contact with Michael Fisher in the 96 single car slide. He gets it back going, drops back to 13th, but trouble for Josh Bilicki in the 79.
You saw the headlights all over the place entering that second horseshoe, and indeed you're right, contact between the 79 and the 96. They were side by side entering the kink, side by side in the horseshoe, and right there the slight contact is made, and there's nothing Bilicki could do. Gets a second hit, goes around, and that shouldn't be enough damage to warn any aerodynamic deficiencies or any problems with that car. The only thing that's going to be hurt is track position. He drops all the way to 13th. He's going to have to look on the rear end of Raja Karuth and Reed Wilson. You see those 3 cars on the far side of your screen coming out of NASCAR Turn 2. That's where they sit. So they're going to have to hope that the whole field in the front starts to work through and battle each other, lose some more time, bleed that off. But it looks like everybody is single file, Jacob, so we could potentially be on the way to those green flag pit stops and the end of this stint, because if everybody's single file, it tells us one thing, that they are looking for pit road, although Corey Heim and Rogers might go completely against that out of NASCAR Turn 4 for the lead.
Here they come, fanning out again. Some cars jump down onto the apron. Here comes Pardis. He wants a shot at it. He gets help from Chase Cabry. No, who in the world is that down on the bottom? It's the 29. That's James Bickford, who's entered the picture. 3 wide. He rips P2 away. He takes it away from Cabot. Preston Pardis back out in front.
And we saw the problems with James Bickford 1 season ago. Last time we were here at the Daytona Road Course with these MX-5 cars, it was in the midst of the playoffs, and Bickford had an abysmal night since the drop of the green, and now he's looking to change the tide. He slips in his second as they continue to go at it inside the top 10. Ryan Vargas getting around Carson Hocevar, who is still a lap car at this point, looking behind Nick Olson, and there's everybody chasing Pardis as we approach 37 minutes left in this Tufco 80. And if you have to come down pit road at some point, Jacob, you have to wait for these guys. I don't believe you want to go all by yourself. You have to have a group with you. But do you go with this group specifically, or do you find some of your teammates, do you find other guys that you like racing with more to come down, or is it just a collective effort anyway?
Well, you saw what Schildhaus did. He was separated a little bit from Alfredo and from Garrett Smithley. So he pitted at the same time with all three of them, and the band's kind of back together again now toward the back of the field. I think that's the game plan right now. They're at least close to each other, or closer than they were earlier. But you've got others, I think they're just going to pit at the same time as everybody else, like we saw at the beginning. Bickford taking the lead going down into the chicane, so he takes the lead for the first time tonight, and will try not to look back, but Preston Pardus in the field, they're hungry right behind him.
By the time we were at the 36 to 35 minute mark in last season's race, we were under caution. And by the time we got back to the green, it was DJ Cummings, Presley Sora, Max Kennan at the front. It is a completely different look here as James Bickford takes the race lead away from Preston Pardus. And now here comes Rogers. Oh, no! Will get turned in front of the field in the race lead. Rogers will come down pit road as soon as it all happens. But James Bickford gets turned at the last second at a NASCAR turn 4 and has to limp his 29 Charlotte Phoenix Miata on a pit road.
It's like the push just kicked him a little squirrely, and then Pardus was there on the outside. Like coming on here, coming on turn 4, it's this push right here, gets him a little squirrely, hooks him down to the bottom, and just nothing that Pardus can do as Bickford comes back onto the racetrack. Bickford brings it to his stall. He does not have a meatball flag. We'll see how much damage that 29 car has as he is on pit road right now. Will Rogers came onto pit road. That was a scheduled pit stop as the contact was happening up at the front of the field. Now Chase Cabry is the guy out in front. We'll see if we get an avoidable contact call from our race official, Josh Mendoza. We've already had one driver parked for avoidable contact tonight. You get 2 incidents and then you're done. Charlie Brown had 2 incidents. That's the second week in a row that he's caused 2 incidents in a race and has been parked. So remember, the limit last year was what, 12, 16? They brought that number down, and I'm pretty sure the number is 7. So bare minimum, Charlie Brown has 4 incidents caused out of a potential 7 that he can have the entire season. Just want to check and see where we're at here as far as the rule book, thumbing through, see if I can find the rule. In the meantime, Kenneth, I'll let you take over while I find it.
Well, it's a tough break for the 58 of Brown, who is unfortunately going to be out of tonight's race. He's going to have to look for 1 week from tonight. That race, the Xfinity cars at Legacy Texas Motor Speedway, as you watch Corey Heim Chase Cabry. It's weird to say Chase twice in the same sentence like that, but Cabry still being hunted down by Heim. Ryan Vargas and Nick Olson have occupied 3rd and 4th, and we should see these guys potentially come in for service. There goes Heim sideways to the left. Ryan Vargas will follow. Same deal for Olson, Adam Cabot, and a couple of others as well. So a larger group, roughly 5 or 6 cars coming in this time through. Maybe add a couple of more. Roger Carruth coming in. That's Josh Balicki right behind him in the number 79. And also to note, we did have a batch of drivers come in. Connor Berry, Ford Martin among those. Of course, James Bickford, who did take his faster pair. So he is out of one for the rest of the race, and that's going to be a huge hit to the Charlotte Phoenix driver. As Chase Cabry holds on to the lead, Joey Padgett takes over 2nd. Wilson, the Team Joyride teammate of the 83, has now stepped into 3rd, but all waiting, Jacob, for these guys to come in at some point.
Yeah, you knew that the time was coming. So they gave an avoidable contact call to Preston Pardus solely because he asked for one for the contact there between him and Bickford, and the number is 8. That's the magic number. You hit 8 incident points in the season, and you are done for the rest of that season. So Charlie Brown is halfway there, and we are 3 races through the season 6 of Monday Night Racing.
Really have to analyze that, make sure you do not get any more incidents for the rest of the race, because we pointed that out last season when there were way more incident points allowed before there was severe consequences, that you had to manage that. You had to make sure that no matter what, that you did not cause incidents because you did not want to get to that threshold by the end of the season. Fortunately, we didn't have really any driver get close to that, but with Charlie Brown already there at roughly 4 in the first 3 races of the season, he's got to be very careful about what happens from here on out, because there is a lot more racing left to do in Season 6, and we do want Charlie Brown to be a part of it, and hopefully those incidents do not happen for the rest of the season. Also to note, Anthony Alfredo, who was one of the drivers in the first batch of cars to come in roughly 4 laps ago, he is now in P16. There's a look at James Bickford, who we saw get turned out of NASCAR turn 4. He's picked up on the rear end, so Bickford isn't really out of this race completely. Garrett Smithley and David Schildhouse running 18th and 19th. Problem here, Jacob, is that Schildhouse isn't in sight with these 3, but at least Smithley and Alfredo are working together, and they do have Bickford, who has to adjust now based on that crash out of NASCAR turn 4 to get back in this race as Chase Cabry and Joey Padgett come in for what could be their second to last pit stop.
Yeah, here comes everybody else that has not stopped at this point. Fisher, Bailey Turner, they just came off turn 4. They're coming to pit road right now, and that means Will Rogers is going to take the lead. Rogers has a 1.4 second lead over Corey Heim right now, so Heim trying to reel him in. He's got help with Vargas, Olsen, Cabot, and more, but a huge lead for Will Rogers right now.
It is going to be big for Rogers, and we'll see how everybody else gets out of pit road. I also noted that Joey Padgett hadn't taken tires the last time he was in for service, and I think he will do the same call this time. So the 83 going on somewhat of an alternative route that nobody else is taking. We're seeing a lot of guys hit up the jacks, go for 4 fresh tires, and for Padgett, he's going away from that strategy as Rogers comes out of turn 1, and he will be joined by Chase Cabry, who will have the lead, but it may change hands by the time they get into the International Horseshoe. It might with a crossover attempt. Rogers looking down low. They almost made contact, but Rogers swiftly makes the pass complete to get back to P1.
Bolt tires. Alex LeBay learned it the hard way. Chase Cabry almost did the same thing right there in the International Horseshoe. He got on the gas, trying to hold on to the lead. And he about dropped the thing, trying to hold on. Here comes Heim. He'll drop to the bottom. He'll take second away. That could open up the door here for Ryan Vargas. He looks for third, just about a car length back. And then you've got Hocevar side by side with Joey Padgett.
So there's a look at Vargas catching Chase Cabry, and there's a small pack around your top 5. Joey Padgett going at it with Carson Hocevar and Adam Cabot, Nick Olsen, and a quartet as well. But the tandems are working to a T for Rogers and Corey Heim, occupying first and second, coming out of the NASCAR banking and heading for the bus stop on the back straightaway. Well, earlier, before we kicked off tonight's Tufco 80, we did mention our odds brought to you by Grid Rival. They're provided by Derek Yoder, and we'll see exactly how it all works between the drivers in their matchups. But Grid Rival is the most in-depth fantasy motorsports manager game on the planet. Grid Rival is full of engaging features that bring a new level of engagement to your favorite racing series. Grid Rival is proud to support Monday Night Racing, and you can check out Grid Rival in the App Store today. So there's a look at our Grid Rival featured matchups. Right now, Chase Cabry having the upper hand over Carson Hocevar. We saw Hocevar get into that crash on the bus stop. He's now a lap down or more. Cabry now holding up third. Gary Sexton and Ryan Vargas were in this matchup tonight as there goes Will Rogers and Chase Cabry for the lead. Vargas now holding up fourth, so he's winning that battle. Pardis and Balicki a little closer on this end, but Pardis is beating Balicki by a couple of spots on the track. Presley Sora calling in front of that battle. Fern easily winning with Sora, I believe, almost pretty much out of this race back in P29. But a little fun thing, Jacob, that we get to use over Season 6 of this Monday Night Racing Pro Series is here's the race winner odds.
Oh, trouble. One car gets turned around in turn number 1. Got drop kicked. It's Reed Wilson, who was having such a good run tonight. Raja Caruth sent it in really, really deep. And Reed Wilson got the bad end of that deal there just on the outside. And I mean, he got rocked by Raja Caruth. Raja had way too much going for it down into turn number 1. Really, it only cost Reed 2 spots because he got it back rolling, but he lost a lot of time on the racetrack for this contact in turn 1.
And you have to imagine where the race control is going to deal avoidable contact, but Caruth accidentally getting into the number 66 of Wilson. Wilson, the Greer, South Carolina native. And Wilson, unfortunately, going to drop those spots. Again, part of Team Joyride. We talk about his team alliance with Joey Padgett, one of the rookie drivers in this series. And so Wilson will drop back. Hopefully he can pick things back up, but we still have a plethora of time. 27 minutes and change. Now 27 minutes officially as Chase Cabrey looks to the outside, coming out of NASCAR turn 2. And as Corey Heim tries to look still for second and maybe even the lead on the back straightaway, there's still a lot of time left. You're looking at roughly one more pit stop, maybe some guys trying to make a one-stop work. But at least if you've buried yourself in a little bit of a hole, Jacob, I think now you still have a little bit of the sand in the hourglass left to repair some of those mistakes and have things go your way to the end. It may be a tougher challenge than if let's say we did have a caution at midway, but it's still possible, still a lot of time, and roughly 13 laps left.
Yeah, and that's something you got to keep in mind. You can make a mistake now, but it's going to be tougher to come back from it now than it would have been 20 minutes ago. Now, something to keep in mind about, Will Rogers trying to block Carson Hocevar to the pit lane. Hocevar still gets by. He's going to try and get out in front of all these leaders right now. He's going to do so 3 wide with Heim on the outside, Cabrey in the middle, and there's still 3 wide trying to get down into turn number 1. Hocevar down on the bottom. And there goes Corey Heim way wide off to the curb. Hocevar gets in front of everybody, and they're still side by side for the lead. Now, one thing I was going to mention, and there it is, Rajat Caruth has been parts, I think. This isn't as clear as I thought it would be from Josh Mendoza here. That's his second incident. Now it says pending first incident review post-race. So I'm assuming that he's going to be allowed to run. They're going to review the first incident he had. Yeah, okay, so Raja will stay on the racetrack. They're going to review the incident that he had earlier, post-race. If that is counted as an incident toward him, he will be marked in the 45th position. That's where he'll be scored, no matter where he actually finishes. If they appeal that incident point and it gets taken away, he'll get where he actually finishes. So Rajat Caruth, his finishing position will be unofficial until Josh Mendoza makes the call.
And that's a top 10 on the line as well. Speak of it, he's just the last driver in this top 10 currently. He's got Reed Wilson right behind him, the driver he did make contact with. Caruth right now all by himself, doesn't really have any drafting help. I'm not sure whether he's going to work together with Wilson, but that is a huge development from Josh Mendoza in race control, and that may alter Caruth's chances at a potential playoff spot and how he sits in the points coming out of the Daytona road course heading for Texas Motor Speedway 1 week from tonight. Here's a look at Will Rogers, my pick for tonight's race in the Tufco 80, currently riding in P4. Similar situation to where he was last season, inside the top 5, just not close enough to the leaders as they came right out of this corner facing that tri-oval and that coveted start-finish line. But he's waiting for the right moment to strike, and a small gap between himself, Ryan Vargas, Corey Heim, and your current race leader, Chase Cabrey, who continues to set the tone in this field. There's Carson Hocevar still in the mix, and I was going to say, Jacob, them going 3 wide in turn 1 a couple of laps ago might have helped the likes of Adam Cabot, Nick Olson, and maybe even Joey Padgett on the tail end of this in P7, but now they have somewhat all separated a little bit. But maybe the battles could bring this back in. It's just going to be a tough scenario to call as Heim goes to the inside of Hocevar.
Trying to rip second away on the racetrack. Remember, Hocevar a lap down after a crash early on in the race back in the bus stop chicane. That's the reason that he is a lap down or multiple laps down at this point in time. And he's just trying to, actually he is just 1 lap down. So if he could get out in front, he may finish tail end lead lap, but he has to get away from the race leaders. And it's going to take a lot of help to do that right now. So he is fast enough to hang with the leaders, but he is not racing for position. He is the first car lap down. He can't pass anybody right now unless somebody wrecks, as Justin Melillo makes the call to bring it on to pit road. Field gets right back up onto the high banks, and the draft will start to work again.
And speak of the entrance into pit road, you talk about Justin Melillo having to make that call, and the same may have to be said for the 33 of Anthony Alfredo. There's a look at that FTF.GG, number 53, Justin Melillo, as we like to call the battery man here in Season 6. And as he comes out of the pit lane, we'll hop out of the pit road speed limiter. As he comes around turn 1, that little exit that's very tough to get around if you're up to full speed, because you really have to make sure you don't slam that inside wall in turn 1, but it's considered the outside wall on the pit road exit. So Malula with a clear exit this time through. He'll merge back with the field, but Anthony Alfredo was sitting 14. There's Max Kennan into the wall, turn 1.
Yeah, he goes around there, and there was some I don't even know how to describe it. Some interesting net code going down into turn number 1 a couple laps ago between Bailey Turner and Michael Fisher that wound up with Bailey Turner getting pushed down in the inside wall, even though he was nowhere close to it. As here's what happened here with Kennan, as he just overdrives it and loops it around. Great job by, I think that's Seth Eggert to get by in that deal. And tough, turn 1 is such a difficult spot when you spin out to get out of the way, right? We saw it earlier with Alfredo where really that whole corner is the racing line, whether on the inside or the outside. So the best place to go, yeah, good luck. And Eggert does an incredible job sneaking right on through that trouble.
And you know what's interesting there? You have so much asphalt runoff on the exit of that corner in the first kink, heading for that corner. But by the time somebody goes around, they're in that last part of the apex. And when you have to avoid at that range, going to the right side, you don't have a lot of runoff left because then it immediately turns into grass. And then you have to decide between skipping through the grass and losing more time and losing the race car, or just having to make it back onto the racing line and potentially risk hitting anyone else if they're faster than you and they're getting by that incident a little clearer. So for Eggert, does a beautiful job of getting around that, hopping on the brakes, and the staff rider for kicking the tires out of Saddlebrook, New Jersey, is able to live to fight another lap as he currently runs in 35th. So there's a look on board with Nick Olson, who currently sits in P6 on the racetrack behind Corey Heim. And again, a great recovery from last week for Olson so far inside the top 10. And we'll see whether he can cook something up into the final 20 minutes, but it may have to deal with strategy because he hasn't fought for the race lead quite yet, Jacob. Or maybe it's just a ploy all along to wait for them to do their own battling and then try to really be aggressive once those final 5 or so minutes kick in.
Yeah, I wonder if he's just trying to hold on the best he can here and wait for this last stint, the last time they have to come to pit road, and then once they get back on the racetrack, start to really get after it and try and get after some of these leaders. But for right now, I think he's fine just saving his stuff, sitting where he's at within distance of the race leaders. Not too far back, but not too in the thick of it either.
Look at Chase Cabry going to the high side. He'll be followed by Adam Cabot, and I think Corey Heim might indeed stick with the 7. It looks like Cabot's going to move back down low. They're 3 wide. A bit of going back for turn 1. And Rogers, Corey Heim, both of them a part of the Hawk Tamers team, a new team for Season 6 of this Monday Night Racing Pro Series presented by Interstate Batteries. So we could see somewhat like how the plate racing works. Teammates working together when things get dire or when the situation pans out in the right way. As you look on board with the Charlotte Phoenix number 26, Ryan Vargas with a new team, a new look, and a new sponsor, Critical Path Security. Some exciting news for Vargas, who continues to expand his sponsorship opportunities in the sim. And as he moves in front of Carson Hocevar, he is just hoping that that 48 holds on to that gap, although Hocevar trying to look to the inside in the second horseshoe.
Yeah, that was close, but they're going to be okay, at least for now, as Vargas stays out in front. You've got Cabry, he's sitting back in 4th. I believe that's Will Rogers that's in the 2nd position, and it is behind the 48 of Carson Hocevar. You've got Cabot sitting in 3rd. They're all trying to catch Ryan Vargas. Now, an interesting strategy pull here from guys that are outside this lead pack. It's being led by Anthony Alfredo. Rajat Karuth is there, Bickford, Colin Fern. This is 9th on back. Make it 10th on back. They are 11 seconds back on the race leaders. And what they're trying to do is they were trying to accordion themselves up to get enough cars and try and draft their way toward the front of the field. The problem is right now they are too busy arguing about whether they should pass and who should be out in front. And there goes Rajat Karuth. He goes by Alfredo. Colin Fern's going to try and make it 3 wide here, it looks like, and he will. He'll get by both of them, and they are still losing time to the race leaders right now. So it's really an interesting decision back here with these guys. They want to get organized, try and catch the race leaders, but they're still losing time with what they're doing.
And that's, again, another similarity to plate racing. Having to work together, be single file, cannot battle, or else you bleed off time, as Ryan Vargas is going to single-handedly come down pit road. I'm not sure whether this is supposed to be a scheduled stop, but he is not on the same strategy, I don't believe, as Alfredo and company. Alfredo has now come in So Vargas pits all by himself in the lead pack.
I tell you what he's doing. He is short pitting this, and he's going to split this last little stint here in half because we're at about a projected 8 laps to go. So what these guys are going to do here, they're going to pit now. They're going to be able to make it to the end. They're going to be able to push. And I think this is all just a ploy by these guys, by Vargas, Alfredo, Smithley. I would think Shieldhouse is going to come to pit road as well. I think that's all strategy by these guys to say, all right, we're going to pit now. So that way we're going to be on fresher tires now and see if the tires fall off as much later on in this deal. And maybe they're going to have a shot to burn a little bit here with an undercut and get by these guys that stayed out. I don't know. It's going to be tough. But I think that's what they're going for right now, splitting this last little stint in half instead of pushing this all the way where the guys on the racetrack right now could probably go another 3 or 4 laps. They decide to pit now and go 8 and 8.
And you'd expect that for the likes of Smithley, Alfredo, and not for Shieldhouse. I was expecting him to come down pit road this time by, but he's going to stay out an extra lap and go back for turn 1 and make that arc. It may seem like the only strategy ploy that you can use at this point of the race. Almost now 15 and a half minutes left in this Tufco 80, and we mentioned the lack of that midway caution break, how for most drivers it's that middle ground where everybody can reset their strategy and or play with a new one. But for this race, you have to work with what has been happening the entire race, and they're going to try to alter their trajectory to give them the best shot at winning. And you look at Smithley, Alfredo, Shieldhouse, the magic they were able to pull off last season to get the win for Shieldhouse. We're not sure whether that's going to pan out officially this time through, as Carson Hocevar continues to be a pillar in this battle for the lead. Adam Cabot's going to move up top. Chase Cabry's going to give assistance on the outside, heading for turn 1. Corey Heim, surprisingly, not going to strike just yet. Rogers going to back out from getting underneath Hocevar back to the first corner, and it looks like Adam Cabot will again have control of tonight's race as he slips out at the exit of turn 1. And it is only getting more confusing for those guys in the back having to get to the front, and all these guys at the front having to pit at least one more time with 7 laps roughly left.
That was a great job there by Adam Cabot. What he did, he was second in line right behind Will Rogers in NASCAR 3 and 4. Hocevar was right behind him. Cabot moved up, let Hocevar by, then pulled right back down in line behind Hocevar and just used the draft to get by Will Rogers as your race leader. Kind of use the draft to his advantage right there. And that's the one good thing about being up at the front with the leaders, is you get to practice these moves that you're going to try or want to try later on in the race coming to the flag. So it'll be really interesting to see if Cabot learned anything from that, and he'll be able to apply that here later on in the race, whether he's out in front of the pack or whether he's trying to get back to victory lane. As wow, he got really wide coming through that corner. That's going to open up the door for Cabry down on the bottom.
You saw there in a couple of frames back, Colin Fern in the 86 has just come down to pit lane, so that pretty much will be his final stop in this Tufco 80, as there's the lead changing once more, Cabry and Cabot. And it looks like Hocevar is going to have a huge gap to these guys up front. That's going to be dissipated in just a little bit once they get to the end of this butt stop. It's just a matter of what they do with that. And you have to imagine, Jacob, that at this point in the race, they're going to have to pit, but you have to imagine Carson Hocevar may be in the factor for the race win. You know, he's not on the lead lap by any stretch of the imagination. He is the tail end of the lead lap as we speak in front of these guys up at the front. But he may play a factor, hanging with the draft, playing with some of the drivers around in that group. And if we end up in that situation, we probably will, where they're all packed up coming out of NASCAR Turn 4 on the white flag, Hocevar is probably going to be there. So they may have to leverage Hocevar either to an advantage or disadvantage to their competition, as Adam Cabot looks back to the inside. Hocevar shuts the door, and they're 3 wide for the lead heading in the tri-oval.
Yeah, I wonder if Hocevar, because I've seen him do that before, where he pulls down on the bottom just to try and get out of the way. So I don't know if he went to the apron just to try and get out of harm's way of everybody and couldn't quite do it because Cabot got to the bottom or what. But I think the only way you're going to get around Carson Hocevar at this point is if you make contact with him and you move him out of the way. I don't know if he's going to willingly back out of it here on the last lap. We'll have to wait and see. But the way he's been racing, I don't quite see it happening. And that's going to be something that these leaders are going to have to tackle here once we get to the final lap. Is, okay, what do we do about Hocevar? How do we want him to have any sort of impact on this race, or do we just want to fight it out amongst ourselves?
But the question still needing answering is they're going to most likely come down. But that is a huge oversend by Rogers, who dove it a little hard on the brakes, wobbled out of shape, and now Corey Heim steps into third. So Rogers, a slight mistake, going to cost him that one spot on track position. And we just saw in Twitch chat, Costin Hocevar saying, here for fun. So he's having a little fun with the guys up the front. I can acknowledge great racing we've seen with Hocevar, even though he's not on the lead lap. But that is going to be a huge talking point after this last pit stop, Jacob, is just what the field does, what Hocevar does in the mix of all this, and how much fun they're willing to have coming to the white flag out of NASCAR Turn 4.
Don't text and drive, kids. That's all I got to say.
Well, Hocevar looks to the inside of Adam Cabot, and that'll open the door for Cabry, but won't do anything with it quite yet heading into the bus stop, so they will stay behind that 48, and we will maintain single file roughly through around your top 10. I've been watching Anthony Alfredo and company where they have been in the field, and for right now, Anthony Alfredo sits 19th on the track, and with all the guys that pitted behind him, Garrett Smithley, David Schildhouse, even Colin Fern, who's a couple of spots above in 17th, they're all packed away from each other. I think the closest gap you see here is between the 15 and the 33. Smithley and Alfredo closest on the racetrack. So that may pose as an issue. They really are going to have to work together as here comes Cabot underneath Hocevar. Is this a stop down to pit road for these guys? No, but for Rogers, it is single-handedly.
Now, he did that the last time, too, where Rogers was the lone guy to pit. And everybody else here, I would think, are going to pit this time just because they're at their window where, you know, you run another lap and you risk running it out of fuel. So I would think this time by, they would make the call and come on to pit road. But that's a really interesting call by Rogers, again, just to pit a lap early than he thinks everybody else will.
Yeah, I think with that situation where Bickford had gotten turned around and we had a almost crash, or almost about caution if we did have cautions in this race, a crash at a NASCAR Turn 4. And it looked like for a moment that Rogers was just doing it to get out of the way and to maybe alter strategy, but that might have just been the plan all along. It just happened to be a case of circumstance. And so Rogers going to come down pit road by himself. He has fallen to 12th as the 17 comes out of the second horseshoe. We'll look for the exit of the infield road course, and Rogers going to be in a battle here with Michael Fisher for 12th on the track. They're going to do a little crossover action coming out of the first international horseshoe, and we are closing in on the final 5 or so laps from the Daytona road course. There are some more drivers on pit road, including Moonhead, Travis Brown.
He's had a relatively quiet night making his first start in Season 6. In the qualifying session, if you will, his first lap was qualifying. He was not here for practice and did not set any practice laps on his own. And he came in and said, yeah, I don't know what I'm doing, and I'm going out here for my qualifying lap. He made the show because only 19 guys showed up for that qualifying session, and we were taking 22 from there to this race. So everybody that registered for that was able to make the big show tonight.
And that's good news for all of them, because numerous times, especially in race 1, race 2, saw a lot of guys in that Q race go home and have to wait another week to get into M&R action. So fortunately, all the guys who wanted to qualify did qualify. We see a couple of drivers calling for pit road. I see Raja Karuth, I see Reed Wilson, but most importantly, I see almost everybody, in fact, absolutely everybody in this main pack. 3 wide for the lead. It looks like Heim is going to move, and they're going to swerve ahead. I believe that's Devin Henry in the middle of all this on the pit road.
Yeah, look out. You can still make contact here. You got to be careful. Oh, man, everybody gets through just fine.
That could have been scary there as the 77 of Henry, the Glendale, Arizona native, was coming out of his stall. And so everybody taking their chance of service, and this may just be a fuel-only call. It looks like Joey Padgett, though, is going to have a 10.5-second stop and is going to come out on top with the lead going into turn 1.
That's a bold strategy as here comes Will Rogers round the outside here in turn number 1. Remember, he just pitted. He's going to come out in front of Heim behind Padgett. So Padgett's going to run away. The problem is he doesn't have any drafting help. Everybody else is going to have to draft, and he's going to get eaten alive when the field gets to him. I know there are only 7 minutes left, but they're going to get to him a lot quicker than that.
Oh, for sure. It only takes less than half a lap to even bunch a couple of cars together in the draft, especially in that NASCAR banking. So you have to imagine the pressure that Joey Padgett is in right now. And again, it turns back to the point we make so many times at the plate tracks where you do not want to have a huge lead all by yourself, because at some point, whether it's sooner or later, the guys behind you are going to form up a pack and they're going to eat you alive. For Padgett, he has to worry about that. I believe the gap isn't too large between himself and Rogers to warrant that, but we may just see because Hocevar's in the mix. Michael Fisher has stepped back into third. Corey Heim, Preston Pardis, Nick Olson, Chase Cabry, all of them are in a single file train trying to get back in draft with each other. So Paget, despite this call, it might help him in the short term, but as everybody gets together, that's going to be a huge worry, especially inside 6.5 minutes.
Right now, the gap's 2.5 seconds. He's pulling his own right now, but that's because Will Rogers had to get out of the way, let Hocevar by, and now he's got to drop right back in behind Hocevar. The car right behind the red hood, that's Michael Fisher. He still needs to stop. Everybody else behind him, though, has made their last stop, and Fisher's going to come in this time.
So Fisher calls in, so that'll move Corey Heim to third. And for Paget, he holds a 1.7 second gap, but Hocevar and Rogers are working together on a smart move by Rogers to keep with that 48, despite him not even being in contention for the lead. And all of them looking to catch that number 83. There's Fisher heading for the left. He's going to hop on the brakes, so he will take his final pit stop of this Tufco 80. And so Joey Paget having the advantage, but for how long? It's just a matter of waiting, and now here comes Rogers. He will strike entrance turn one. Look how much he closed in on Paget there. Now down to 0.8 of a second, and Hocevar almost about fought back out of turn one.
Yeah, that was a huge gain from Rogers there, using the draft to push Hocevar along, then pulling out. And I tell you, he gained about 1.5 seconds by doing that. It's balanced out at about 1 second, but right now Rogers is all attack, attack, attack. Realistically, we're looking at about 4 laps left around the racetrack in these 5 or so minutes. So they're running out of time, and the clock's ticking, literally, which is, usually it's just lap times. This time, it's an actual clock that's going to determine who's going to win this race. Once we hit zeros, we race it back to the checkered flag. And that's something that we picked up on last year, that these guys are going to have to be ready. As soon as that clock hits zero, next time you hit the line, that's the race.
And then the white flag can come out instantly. As soon as you have that timer go down to zero. So you're right. Everybody has to be ready. But look at Hocevar looking again underneath Rogers, and they're bringing in Corey Heim, so that may help their case, extend the amount of cars in this pack. But like you said, Jacob, they really have to make these moves swiftly, because if they don't, they're going to stack themselves amongst each other. They're going to let Paget run away. But this time, Heim and Rogers are going to work single-handedly together to move up in a second, third, and they're closing in on Paget into the bus stop. But Rogers side by side with Hocevar, and that's not going to help.
Yeah, and Hocevar got a little squirrely there. And I'm surprised this line behind Rogers hasn't bunched up as much. That mistake's going to allow Corey Heim to get to the back bumper of the 7. And this is going to be the race right here, because Hocevar pulls out to the outside. Paget's a sit and duck here off turn 4. Let's see where Rogers decides to go, top or bottom. He goes to the apron to go 3 wide for the lead. Almost washes up into Paget. Here comes Will Rogers. Here comes Pardis. He looks to the outside, almost 4 wide. Hocevar throws the block. Move Will Rogers to the lead, and Corey Heim's coming for second.
This is exactly what everybody wanted. You can question whether they were waiting for that move to officially unleash, as they're 3 wide, a couple of rows deep into turn 1. Olsen about makes contact with Corey Heim. Hocevar on the top side. Paget stuck in the middle, but Rogers to the race lead into the International Horseshoe.
And Paget's just trying to get out of the way on those older tires. He does so just fine, and now he sends it really deep, trying to get alongside Nick Olson. Will Rogers leads. Carson Hocevar, the lap car, second on the racetrack. Corey Heim is in second then. Then you've got Paget, Olson, Cabry, Cabot, Pardis, and Gary Sexton, who just came off pit road. He's a lap down right at the tail end of this pack.
And you have to imagine if they continue to go side by side, as they do here for P3 on the track, Paget and Olsen going at it, whether they could bring in the last driver a couple of seconds back from Preston Pardis. Josh Balicki in the 79, who was the winner of this race in race number 4 of season 4. And Balicki may be in contention. We'll just see. They're still almost 3 wide for third. Olsen trying to block ahead of Chase Cabry. Will be his first top 3 of the season for Olsen if he can get it done inside 2.5 minutes. And Rogers with a 0.7 of a second lead over Heim.
So now, here's the deal. We're going to hit the start-finish line here, and this should be the last lap, because they're running about 2-minute, 10-second lap times. So they're going to be just short, I think. I think they're going to be racing to the flag next time by. I think we're going to get the white here.
Maybe proper timing. There's Olsen going through the grass. Paget right behind him. He'll look for position. He'll stuff him out of the way. And it looks like Rogers is going to have to brace for impact. He's holding behind Hocevar, but here is Corey Heim, not going to duck out. He's going to move out to the outside and look for the lead all by his lonesome. And can Chase Cabry and anyone else do anything? At this point, Rogers is going to shuffle back to second. They'll work together to get around Hocevar once more back to turn one. 1 minute and 39 seconds and counting as they cross the start-finish line for what may be the last lap in the Tufco 80.
It is. Barney the flagman was waving the white flag, so this is the last lap of the race. There's contact. Will Rogers gets pushed wide. He loses 3 spots thanks to Corey Heim. Joey Paget is back in the lead, coming through the S's. Door to door between Corey Heim and Chase Cabry for position number 2, but it's all Joey Paget back out in front as we're on the last lap.
Josh Mendoza makes it clear. White flag in the air into our interstate batteries. 1 to go in our Tufco 80 from the virtual Daytona International Speedway. Hocevar, the lap car, side by side with Paget. And Heim, Cabot, Cabry, and everybody else looking for advantage into the second horseshoe as they come out of the infield road course.
Can't believe how aggressive Hocevar's being right now on the race leader. He's hanging on his outside, slowing him down. Paget just trying to get clear and get away, trying to go to victory lane for the first time in his short M&R career. Corey Heim is in second. Adam Cabot's in third. They're at his tire tracks. Here they come up onto the high banking. Corey Heim within a car length.
Corey Heim looking for win number 3 in his M&R career. Paget looking for win number 1. They're side by side for third. That's Adam Cabot going at it with Chase Cabry and Preston Partis. But as they come out of NASCAR turn 2, they will see the bus stop for the final time. Here comes Paget inside on Hocevar, and Heim nowhere to go in the middle.
Heim, if he's smart, he stays behind Hocevar, and they're going to get the draft off of Hocevar here. This is the move. We saw it work for Cabot a couple of laps ago. We'll see what they do here through NASCAR 3 and 4. Everybody makes it through the bus stop clean, but Heim, he's got to use the draft. He hooks up with Hocevar. They may be too far back. The gap is 6 car lengths. Here they come through 3 and 4, coming back to the front straightaway. Corey Heim trying to use Hocevar as a pick to get back to Paget. They may be just too late. Here they come to the outside off turn 4.
Hocevar looks to the outside. Heim looks down low. The chase for the start-finish line. The 51 looks underneath the 83. Cabry trying to mount a last-second charge, but it will not work. Corey Heim in the 51 takes career win number 3 and wins the Tufco 80 from Daytona.
Great move there by Corey Heim. Coming to the flag, just setting up the move. That's the same exact thing that Adam Cabot tried to do a couple laps ago before they pitted. Was set up behind Carson Hocevar, use him for the draft, and just get by the 83, and that's all they needed. Everybody else was just a little too far behind. Even with the draft, they couldn't quite get there. Now, if we were at Talladega, different story. But with the start and finish line in the middle of the tri-oval, a huge run for Corey Heim. And another track where maybe we didn't predict he would go to victory lane. He gets the job done, going into one of his best racetracks in Texas next week.
That's going to be huge for Corey Heim in the 51, who takes away the win. Says great race in the chat, and indeed a great race put up. And it's just typical textbook move with these cars at this track. Having to make that move out of the last corner, using the draft as leverage. And you can imagine if there was more time for Cabry, for Paget, for Cabot, all of them to get back in the mix, whether they could have had a retaliation, had an answer, and they did not have a response. Corey Heim gets by, and Carson Hocevar makes it fun at the front. And the 51 gets to victory lane once again in this Monday Night Racing Pro Series presented by Interstate Batteries. Let's take a look at your full unofficial results. It is Hawk Tamers with the win. The team with Corey Heim behind the wheel in the 51. He takes away his third M&R win. Chase Cabry short of the checkered flag by 0.05 of a second. But Cabry topping off a win at Twin Ring Motegi with a second place outing at Daytona, only continuing what could be a championship effort for Cabry. Preston Partis comes home in P3. It is great effort all night long by P Money, the Floridian driver. Joey Paget, the rookie driver, again shows out amazingly and comes home in P4. It'll be a top 5 for the 17 of Adam Cabot. Again, second straight top 5 for Cabot here over the past 2 seasons in this combo. Will Rogers comes home in P6. It'll be P7 for the Grit Esports machine of Nick Olson. And Olson, a lot of props to him on the outstanding job as well. Big pickup from Twin Ring Motegi last week. Josh Balicki, one of the former winners of this race a couple of seasons back, he finishes tonight in P8. It'll be a top 9 for Team Joyride's Reed Wilson, who started 21st tonight, and Ryan Vargas, Jacob Hitz, rounds out the top 10.
Alex LeBay will finish in 11th. That pick was from Blake McCandless, of course, so he picks up a couple of points there with a top 20 finish for LeBay. James Bickford in 12th, Rajah Caruth in 13th, Colin Fern finishes in 14th, Michael Fisher 15th, Anthony Alfredo finishes 16th, David Schildhaus finishes 17th, Leighton Sabile finishes 18th, didn't hear much from him tonight, Bailey Turner 19th, and Justin Malillo finishes with a top 20.
Seminole Florida's Robbie Lyons ends up 21st. It'll be 22nd for Matt Stolnick in the 41. Joey Savage, he didn't have the greatest race tonight. He ends up 23rd at the checkered flag. Brandon Brown in the number 12 is 24th. Connor Berry in the 37, the rookie driver, is inside the top 25 by the time this Tufco 80 is all said and done. Stephen Ellis is 26. It'll be 27th for Ford Martin in the 07. Ronnie Osmer 28. 29th for Presley Sora. Just did not have a good race all around, unfortunately. Josh Slate ends up as the last driver inside the top 30. Mark Rebillis will be 31st, 32nd for Seth Eggert, Devin Henry 33rd, 34th for Jordan Buster, top 35 for Max Kennan, and Gabe Wood, Garrett Smithley, Travis Brown, Carson Hosenvar, and Gary Sexton round out the top 40.
And the rest, Brett Baldeck, J. Powell, Chris Weaver back here, Case Kallenbach, he was sitting on pit road for a couple of laps. Travis Brown, not the finish he was looking for back there. Finishes 44th. Interesting. Okay, yeah, so that's not coming up the way it's coming up for me. I have Hocevar 41st. What? Hold on. Yeah, no, something's not right with ATVO. Let's go to this screen. What does iRacing say? All right, 41st Baldeck, 43rd DJ Powell, 43rd Chris Weaver, 44th Case Kallenbach, 45th Michael Massey, 46th Charlie Brown, 47th Dakota Curtis. I don't know why that was so difficult, ATVO, but nonetheless, that's your field.
47 cars full. It was a lot of drivers when we took the green flag, but the spotlight is on one driver and one driver only, and that is Corey Heim in the number 51, who takes the Tufco 80 from the virtual Daytona International Speedway and the road course with these Mazda MX-5 Miatas. Corey, your third career M&R victory, and it comes here tonight at the Daytona road course. Just give us your thoughts, how you feel about the win, and what went behind that last lap turn 4 pass on Joey Padgett.
Yeah, that was a lot of fun for sure. I put a pretty good race together. I was really debating on whether we could do a 2-stop fuel strategy, and really just a big props to Monday Night Racing and the everyone who's involved with this deal, making it really interesting and having an overall clean race. I had an issue with my pedals early on where if I went full brake pressure, they would really go in and out really bad. And that's how I wrecked Hocevar. And, he didn't need to race me clean at the end. He probably should have got me back, but he was also really clean. And I know he's a lap down, but, he could have got me back and he didn't. So props to him for that as well. And I don't know. I knew that, the front stretch runs were insane going into one. So I think everyone was dragging brake going into the bus stop, and I was really worried that Cabri was going to try to pass me going into the bus stop, but luckily he didn't, and I stayed single file, and I pushed Carson and kind of used him as a pick there at the end, and I was able to get Joey at the line there. That was just a lot of fun, and it was going to come down to photo finish, even though it was with the lap car there, but that was a lot of fun for sure. Just huge props to Monday Night Racing, and huge thank you to Race CPI and Hog Tamers and everyone involved with this deal.
I believe the first time the Hog Tamers as a team gets to victory lane here in Season 6 of the Monday Night Racing Pro Series presented by Interstate Batteries. Corey, on behalf of our entire team here at Podium Esports, want to send you a huge congratulations on winning the Tufco 80, and we're sure you're excited about the race 1 week from tonight, Xfinity at Legacy, Texas, where you went to victory lane 1 season ago. We'll see you then, but until then, congratulations from Daytona.
Yeah, I appreciate that. Thanks for having me today.
So Corey Heim in the 51 ends up victorious. And by the way, that is the first time that he does not win an M&R with with the car that's not the Xfinity car, so the MX-5's added to that list. We'll shift it over to P2. It is Chase Cabry who comes off the win at Twin Ring Motegi, finishes second. Jacob Hitz, you're caught up with him.
Chase trying to go back-to-back here from Daytona. Is there anything you could have done there on that last lap to try and set the draft up any different to have a shot to get to the 51?
No, I really didn't know what to do, to be honest. Obviously I learned throughout the race you do not want to be leading coming off the bus stop. You end up being a sit and duck. So I figured about maybe fourth in line or third in line seemed to always have that run to the start and finish line. Being that I was actually in third place, but I was fourth in line with Carson being up there. So I thought I positioned myself correctly. At least I thought so, but I was actually talking to Preston about it before I got up in this chat, and he was saying he was surprised I didn't have more of a run than I had. But obviously, I probably didn't do a better. I'd probably need to do a better job of getting off the bus stop if I wanted a shot at it.
Nonetheless, congratulations on the P2, and we'll see you next week from Texas with the Xfinity cars. Congratulations. Best of luck next week.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
That's Chase Cabry finishing P2. Now, P-Money, Preston Pardis, third place. He's with Kenneth Bueno.
Yes, sir, indeed. Here with the driver, the number 42, Preston Pardis, who comes home third at the line in a stunning finish here at the Daytona Road Course. Preston, you were working with Cabry there, coming out of NASCAR turn 4. Did you feel that there was anything left in the tank that you could have done to have a better finish or to go for the win?
I don't know. I thought we did pretty much all we could do there. I thought me and Chase had a pretty good gap, and I thought the Mo was going to carry us to victory there, at least at 1-2, and I don't know, we just dropped in early. Pulled like I thought we were, but look at the replay. Just the run Corey had and the speed they were going, it was going to kind of be hard to overcome, but it was still a fun day out there.
Definitely a lot of fun. It was a lot of fun in the booth watching you out on track, position yourself in the right place, and you finish in third here in this Tufco 80. Preston, on behalf of our entire team here at Podium Esports, congratulations on the podium finish. We'll see you at Legacy Texas Motor Speedway 1 week from tonight. Should be fun.
Yeah, it should be a good time. Every week in these in the series, it's awesome. Just racing against these guys is so much fun. It's so competitive, as you guys know. But looking forward to it. I can't thank Jake Fisher enough. He was crew chief of me tonight, and I had my old friend Alex LeBay in the Discord with us. It was a bummer he spun out there. He was really fast tonight, so it was kind of cool to see him in a MX-5 car. Hopefully he gets out there in the real thing soon in the future, but it was a good time, and we'll see you guys next week.
So that is P-Money, Preston Pardis, who comes home as the last one in the podium here tonight in this Tufco 80 from the virtual Daytona International Speedway. And Jacob, what a race we've had, and again, does not disappoint when you bring the Miata MX-5s to this Daytona road course. Again, we had a stunning battle for the win, and although it wasn't maybe 4 or 5 cars going at it at once, we had a stunning textbook pass by Corey Heim at the end. A lot of strategy involved without that midway caution, changed up the vibe for the entire race, and Corey Heim getting a win in the most unbelievable way possible and taking it over Joey Padgett, but just an unbelievable race here tonight, just overall.
Just when you think you found a combination that maybe Corey Heim will run well at, but not go to victory lane in, he just wins the darn thing. And it set up exactly what we would expect. A mad dash coming to the checkered flag, where you got guys coming off turn number 4, trying to go 16 wide to get to the start-finish line, and who's going to make it first. That's part of what we expect when we come here to Daytona. And you know, you had a smaller amount of cars in this batch just because we did not see a caution tonight. The race was a little bit longer. Strategy was a little different tonight. But in the end, we still had a pretty solid race there at the end when it mattered. And Corey Heim coming away with the win. And we talk early about, well, who do we think is going to be somebody that could contend for a championship? Corey Heim, he's got to be a guy. We'll see how next week goes at Texas. If he curb stops the field again, I got bad news for the rest of the field, especially if he can make it further on down the stretch. When they go to Homestead for the finale, it may be a done deal if Corey Heim's in the championship 4.
And look at the storyline that we've had for the 3 different winners in our first 3 races. Garrett Smithley, first victory in a long time, has been around in M&R for as long as I can remember. And then you look at second race winner, Chase Cabry, immediately out of the gate, so fast as a rookie. Corey Heim, who took part a little bit in Season 4's festivities, is now coming back, or Season 5's festivities rather, and then coming back for his first full-time effort and being as dangerous as ever. So there is so many different storylines between those three drivers that are three different winners, and who knows what other storylines may arise from here, whether we have some veterans come back to victory lane or whether the newcomers are just the new force to be reckoned with as we head through the rest of the Season 6 schedule. And next week, Jacob, we've got one that'll be a challenge for the entire field. We saw almost everybody completely sideways by the time we were at Legacy Texas Motor Speedway with the Xfinity cars last season. We're going to have it all over again in the middle of the regular season, and that should be a huge pillar in the midst of our playoff fight.
Leighton Sabile wrecking off turn 2 every single lap. Going to be a lot of fun next. But, that was one of the races that we saw go green to checker with no caution. We'll see if that happens this time around. These newcomers, they're going to learn pretty quick that this thing's not easy to drive at Texas. No doubt.
That's definitely true. We're going to have that challenge 1 week from tonight. We close things out here from the virtual Daytona International Speedway, but our coverage on Podium Esports is not quite done just yet, and we'll bring in our host of the Front Stretch post-race show. It'll be Brandon Houff in control of that, and he will take you all through what's going to be followed after tonight's race, what to expect 1 week from tonight at the Legacy Texas Motor Speedway. Brandon, welcome to our show on Podium Esports, and I'm sure you, like all of us, just had an outstanding time watching this race on the edge of our seat, lap after lap after lap, with Corey Heim taking the victory at the end.
Yeah, man, that was exciting. I mean, listen, these cars and this track, like we've seen it in years past or seasons past in this series, like you just can't predict it. I mean, it's crazy. I didn't know who was going to win till the last lap. I don't think any of us did. But yeah, that was fun to watch. I know it was fun for everybody on the broadcast. I know it was fun for me, having covered the series every week. Definitely fun. This is one of the more fun events I know every season. So I really enjoyed this one.
A lot of fun here from Daytona. I know there's going to be a lot of fun having you and Michael Massey a part of our Front Stretch post-race show each and every week. So, Brandon, I'll let you take the reins on this one and give us some of the analysis of what to have here from Daytona, what to expect in the next couple of weeks. But from us, that is from Daytona here in this Tufco 80. And it was a lot of fun having you join us here on Podium Esports as Corey Heim takes win number 3 in his M&R career.
All right, thanks. We'll take it from here. So welcome to the frontstretch.com post-race show, the Monday Night Racing. I'm Brandon Houff. That is Michael Massey. How you doing tonight, Mike?
Doing all right. I was obviously in the race just now. It was not my worst road course race. I was running along pretty good. And then I was just looking at the beautiful sunrise out there over turn 1. And for a temporary second, I forgot that we weren't running the big oval and just sailed it on into that wall. But so from there, the night took a turn for the worse. But hey, I'm happy to be here. This is cool. And we're in cahoots with Podium now for this whole broadcast.
Yeah, man, I was thinking the same thing. This is really cool. This is a cool deal. I'm happy we're here at Podium. Happy we're both here. And our 2 guests tonight, I guess we should mention. We will have Corey Heim and Joey Paget. Corey was the winner tonight in tonight's exciting event. But Mike, I'll let you talk about your eventful race first.
Yeah.
I know you said you mentioned the sunrise and all that.
Yeah, it was beautiful. It was a sunrise race where it starts out dark. Well, I don't know, because it got darker. They were telling me it was sunrise, but
I thought it was.
It got dark.
No, it was dark. Yeah, it was sunset.
I was lied to. So it was a sunset. So Daytona Road Course. The Mazdas running around there. Those fun little cars. You can go deeper into the braking zones. Get hard on the gas instead. You don't really have to drive it like you got to egg under the throttle. You just kind of go harder. But yeah, it was pretty straightforward race. We didn't have any cautions, but there were plenty of incidents. A couple guys got disqualified tonight, and it was Monday Night Racing. It ended up with a great finish. With Joey and Corey Heim, and even a lapped Carson Hocevar in there for some reason. But I don't think Monday Night Racing, the leaders there, could ask for a better race tonight.
Yeah, no, I mean, especially I've mentioned it before we came on the air officially here, just us. This race every single season is It's just one of those races nobody ever knows who's going to win until you literally exit NASCAR 4 and you come to the tri-oval. Like, it's crazy. Like, I know, for anybody who doesn't know, I spot for Nick Olson. I know I've mentioned that on the show before, but I know just watching where Nick was, he was up front most of the race. I mean, it's intense. Like, they're 3 and 4 wide going into turn 1 there in the road course. And the way those cars are, like you said, you don't have to act like there's an egg under the gas. You just floor it as soon as you're off the brake. And those things don't have any power to them. So it's crazy. And the draft is so big. So, even in the infield section, it's huge. So, just watching that race, it's crazy. And especially when you get onto the NASCAR part of the track, it's insane, like how much it matters.
For sure. I'll tell you how important the draft was. At one point, I knocked my wheel out of alignment. Okay. And so obviously I'm damaged. I'm going slower. Case Collenbach passes me. Even though I have the damage, I'm able to hang right with him down the whole, turns 3 and 4. The NASCAR turns 3 and 4 and through the front stretch just because of the draft. That's how important it was. And you saw there at the finish, Corey Heim used Carson Hocevar to slingshot past Joey for the lead there, for the win. So that's how critical. It's crazy to think that a Daytona road course race would have a finish like the Daytona Oval.
Yeah, I was saying that. I knew once Corey and Carson there were hooked up, I'm like, yeah, Joey's kind of just a sitting duck here. And, I kind of felt bad. I'm like, oh, this poor guy. He's got the lapper in between him and Corey. And I don't remember who was behind Corey, but I'm like, I wonder, Corey's going to try to make a move here. And the 3rd and 4th place guys, who knows? I mean, they were 4 or 5 wide at some points, on the front stretch because you could use the apron. There was no apron rule. So everybody was utilizing the apron. It's crazy, just this, like I said, this race every year is crazy. One of my favorites definitely to cover, one of my favorites to watch. I know that everybody on the broadcast enjoyed it. Everybody watching, hopefully they enjoyed it. But we're going to hear from Corey and Joey here soon, regarding their race.
Yeah. So they're still, we're still working on things here, but first show here. Let's talk about who did you think was gonna be the guys going into this. We had the practice race last night. Those results were posted. You couldn't watch that race, but the results were posted online. You could kind of get a reference. And then qualifying, I believe, was it Alex LeBay that won the pole?
Yep. Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yeah, so I was thinking he was going to be a big threat for it. I didn't see where he finished, but
11th, I think.
11th. So I'm not sure what happened to him. That's the thing. Me being in the race, it's hard to tell what happened to everybody. But big track out there.
Yeah, it's like it was weird because obviously you start out the race and there's all 47 cars that started. Which actually we should mention this week there was 47 cars. Not the usual 43 or however many there are. 47 started. So, you had the one big pack to start the race. And then obviously it fizzles out with the incidents and all that. But even so, there was, I think, a 23 car pack or so to start the race. But then you just saw every pit stop. It dwindled down more and more and more until you got to that 10 car pack at the end. But even so, but who I expected, I would say probably the usual suspects, the guys that were up front. I expected Chase Cabry to be good. I expected Corey to be good.
Even though Chase Cabry said he was not going to be any good.
Yeah, man, I don't believe. Yeah, he did, but I didn't believe him. He must have been bluffing or something. He didn't want to show his hand. But
these guys with real life driving experience, they're like guitar players. Where if a guitar player, the worse they tell you they are, the better they are.
The better they are, yeah.
So that's how some of these real drivers are when they get in the sim. It seems
they know how to put on their poker face. So and I expected Will Rogers. I knew he was gonna be good because he's always good at road courses. I know he was in position to win at the end there. But he I don't remember with 2 to go. I think he had an issue and got shuffled out. But the usual suspects. We're always up there. And I believe we have our winner, Corey Heim, joining us now. There he is.
There's
Hey,
the
Corey.
man of the hour.
Yep, there's the man of the hour. How are we doing tonight, Corey? I
I'm
imagine pretty
doing,
good.
doing well right now for sure, no doubt.
Yeah,
Yes, sir.
talk to us how your race went tonight. I know it was very eventful out there. We talked about before you came on here how the way this race works, with the draft, the Mazdas, the lack of horsepower and the amount of grip together, makes for like a pack race on the Daytona road course. Just talk about how it was out there, and what basically you had to do to get the win here tonight.
Yeah, I mean, it was definitely all about just right time, right place, and setting yourself up for the last lap. And I think throughout the race, it was just a matter of kind of figuring out the strategy. I think Monday Night Racing does a really phenomenal job with how they set up like the fuel strategies and the tire strategies and everything like that. It makes it a really fun and strategic race. So throughout the race, I was considering doing a two-stop strategy, and inevitably, I think everyone had to do a three-stop unless someone ran out of fuel and I missed it. But just having that strategy option and just kind of keeping that in mind throughout the race really just kept it interesting for everybody, because I think you saw some people get out to the lead and try to lead the whole thing, and you try to save some fuel, and you tried to lay back in the pack. I mean, there's just so many different strategies throughout the race, and I think everyone kind of ended up on the same deal at the very end because it was all about draft and everyone kind of got packed back up. But it at least made you fight for track position and fight for where you were on the racetrack at all times. So definitely a lot of fun. My strategy I think was really good, just kind of playing a little bit on the safe side with fuel and keeping that track position and driving hard and staying in the top 5 the whole time. It was risky, got in a couple of wrecks, but luckily I had that quick repair and it worked out at the end.
Hey, and thankfully, no yellow line rule, right?
Yeah. Honestly, wasn't sure if there was or not, so I'm glad there wasn't. I did it like 3 times earlier in the race to make sure, and they didn't say anything. So luckily that worked out for me too.
Hey, I was just wondering, what was up with Carson Hocevar there at the end? He was like a lap down, but in the mix with you guys, kind of making it a little tough. And then you used him to ultimately win the race. So what was going on there? Do you know?
I don't know exactly, but I had a problem with him early in the race. It was all my fault. I overdrove the corner and my brakes had an issue. I wasn't able to slow down enough, and I slammed into him and ultimately put him a lap down. And I actually had a similar issue last year. I got completely cleaned out earlier in the race in this exact race. And there's still like an hour left in the race, and I was like, well, I want to race, and I kind of fouled out right where the leaders were, and I tried to help Will Rogers win last year, and we ended up I think 3rd. But just I don't think he was trying to help me by any means. We weren't in the same Discord or anything, but I think he was just trying to prove a point and that he could compete for the win. And I mean, I don't blame him. I think some people are mad, but like there's nothing in the rule book that says you can't do it. So like I mean, I did it last year, and no one really said anything, but he might have been a little bit more aggressive than I was last year. I was just trying to more so help Will Rogers win the race rather than prove a point like he was. But there was times that he could have got me back for wrecking him, and he didn't. So I definitely appreciate that when it came down to it.
Yeah, this race, if you have a problem early in it with no cautions, it can get very boring out there if you're not racing for anything. So I completely get that.
Yeah, no doubt.
But yeah, this is your 3rd career win in the series. It seemed like it was this one harder fought, you think, or which was the most challenging you think you've had so far?
I mean, I think it's kind of apples to oranges. I mean, my first win was at Charlotte last year with the Xfinity car, and I think the second win was Texas Xfinity car, and those are just 2 completely different races. Or at least this race and those 2 races are 2 totally different races and strategies, where you're kind of saving the whole time and trying to save tire, or rather with these you're just trying to save fuel and stay alive. And it's also endurance racing and road racing with lower horsepower, no throttle control, really just driving as hard as you can. So a lot of different aspects. I feel like this one took a different skill set to win than the other races, but I wouldn't necessarily say that it was harder fought. I think maybe I had to drive the Xfinity car easier to save tire and be there at the end and ultimately win the race. But with this car, it's also just everything is about the draft and setting yourself up. So I think this is definitely much more luck oriented. I feel like you need some luck to be there at the end and set yourself up right. And luckily I had that tonight. But maybe the Xfinity car is more about just pure skill set and saving tire and maybe a little bit of luck. I think that's all racing, but I think this is definitely a lot more about it for sure. And I had that on my side tonight, so super happy.
Yeah, you've been really successful here in real life and the sim really in 2022. You had your real life success in trucks, with those few wins. Talk about iRacing to you and sim racing and how fun it is to be in this league. Like Mike said, you've won now 3 times in the league. How often do you use iRacing and how much of a tool is it to you usually?
Yeah, I really just come on iRacing to do some league races, and I don't really use it for any real life situations. I normally just leave that to the Toyota Racing Development Simulator that I go to a couple times a week to prepare for my real life racing. But this is so realistic, I feel like, and it kind of gives you a better understanding of how to race. Whether rather the TRD sim, you're by yourself, so you're not really racing anybody specifically. But you come to iRacing, I feel like I really learned how to race here when I was, 12, 13 years old and just trying to figure everything out coming out of quarter midgets and going into bandoleros and legends cars. I feel like iRacing was a phenomenal tool to help me, figure out my racecraft and how to save tire for super late models and, things like that. So, nowadays I might not use it as a tool for real life stuff, but growing up, I feel like it was huge in my development and my growth and my racecraft. So, to this day, I feel like it's just kind of a fun hobby for me to get on here and league race. I don't really mess around with a lot of official stuff, but it's a blast. I mean, this is my passion. I love racing and all types of it. And I put a little bit more effort into this race than I did last week. I really wanted to win last week, but I just didn't have the time to practice like I did this week. So I'm really grateful that it paid off tonight.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And if you were using iRacing or tonight's race to help you learn for the truck series for road courses, then you would sail clear past turn 1 at the next road course race in trucks, wouldn't you?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, these things were all about momentum. I mean, I couldn't believe how deep people could drive it into pit road. I knew, we were going to have to make at least 2 pit stops, which we ended up doing, I think, 3 total, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
And, I made sure to do a couple of green flag runs coming to pit road. And it's like, I've never driven anything that deep into pit road on iRacing. So it was like, just, every time you come on here, you learn something new. And it's just really fun to see all these different car and track combinations with Monday Night Racing. And definitely looking forward to the rest of the year for sure.
Yeah, definitely. But you want to say something, Mike?
Yeah, I was just to say congrats on the win. Thanks for coming by. I believe you got a playoff spot locked up for you now thanks to this win. We look forward to seeing what you can do the rest of this season.
Yeah, I appreciate that, and thanks for having me on the show today.
Yeah, no problem, Corey. Congratulations.
All right, thanks a lot.
That was Corey Heim, our winner tonight at the Daytona Road Course. Mike, I believe we have one more guest tonight in Joey Paget.
Yes, sir. He should be coming in here anytime.
Yep.
Yeah, but to echo as Corey was saying, it's cool to have him in the league. He's probably one of the up and coming stars.
Oh yeah.
Wouldn't you say?
Yeah, he's going to be in Cup one day. You know it. He's going to be a star in the sport. It's really cool to see his success now and the success he's had in this league so far. Like from the time he started out. So it's really cool.
And TRD is going to have some openings in the next couple of years at the top level probably. So I can definitely see him working. And it's just cool to see him running this league. And of course he wins. He always wins. I've seen him at local short tracks. He wins there too. So
he wins everywhere he goes. And I'm sure it's going to continue that. I believe we have Joey joining us. There he is. Hey, Joey, how's it going?
Pretty good. How y'all doing?
We're doing good.
The night was almost a lot better for you, wasn't it?
Yeah.
It was close. Yeah. I knew coming out of the chicane there, I was like, man, they're too close. I knew they're going to be coming hard. So did what I could to try to hold on to it, but I knew Corey came with so much speed that if I even blocked him, pretty much going around at that point.
Yeah. Now you're a rookie in the league this year, so what does it mean to have such a strong showing, kind of right out of the gate?
Absolutely. Yeah, we've been fast all year. We were pretty fast at Talladega, led some laps early. Led some laps at Twin Ring. Just hadn't really been able to put a race together. And I knew we had the speed here this week. So I was excited to not have anything bad go happen. I was just so focused on just because they were just driving so hard at the beginning. And I knew we started third, so we get out front, try to create some distance, let some people fall off. We were there at the end.
Yeah, you'd mentioned that you started third. Track position. I felt like in every single season at this track is everything. Like you start 30th, 35th. You kind of know with no cautions, your race is kind of just screwed from the start. Talk about how you were able to approach the race starting third versus, let's say, if you started 30th. You got to be aggressive from the start. Starting third, you can kind of, I guess, kind of scale back to start, knowing, all right, I'm already up here. I know I'm fast enough. Now it's just about managing the pit stops and all that. Talk about what you felt all night with that.
Absolutely. Yeah. Once you got behind like fifth to about 15th, it was just really hectic. Everyone was pretty much just diving in the corner hard they needed to be. Just not really using momentum like they should have been doing to try to keep up with the pack in front. But so as soon as I started falling back, I just let it happen. And I knew they would come back to me. So, and then I had Jordan, my spotter. He was like, I think we can make it. Getting one more gallon there at the end. I was like, I'm gonna trust you. And then we came out leading there. 3 to go ish.
Yeah.
And yep, I blew it. Had like a 2.5 second lead, but it's all good. I was so nervous at the first lap coming back green. I was like, we'll see what happens. But I knew it was gonna be pretty much a drafting game at the end of it.
You did take 1 gallon then.
Yep. We
Yeah,
had.
we were talking about it. Brandon and I were talking about it before we came on the air that we thought you might not make it. So you were cutting it that close, huh?
Yep.
How much further you think you could have gone?
We had about 7/8 of a lap left, so we could have probably got one
Wow.
more lap in. Yeah, and I knew I was like, because as soon I was just riding that whole second after that second pit stop, I was just right there in 8th. That was like the whole front group. I was like, there's no reason to even push here as long as you're in this draft. And then I started saving a little bit, just tagging on the tail, and made sure we could do it on just a 1 gallon.
Sure. Now, what was up with Carson Hocevar there? It seemed like he was racing you guys pretty hard to not be on the lead lap going for the. Well, yeah, we have some technical difficulties over there, so just ignore that blurry man.
It's all good. It's all good.
Ignore my blurry self.
Yeah, no. I don't know. I guess he got into it with Corey early, and I don't even know. I guess he was just kind of like proving a point, like I deserve to be up here. I'm fast, so he was racing with us. I knew when he filed in second, I was like, man, if he could just hold off Corey for a little bit and give me a little enough distance, I thought we could maybe have a shot. But they just the draft kicks up.
Yeah, Corey kind of used him to win the race. Almost, he used him to kind of slingshot you. So yeah, I just. I don't know, it's just weird to look up there. You see a lap car racing the leaders that hard, but hey, you'll so coming up here, where do you think you're gonna get that? It's not a matter of if, but when, it seems, right? For that first career Monday Night Racing win.
Yeah, absolutely. We've had the speed, and now we're locked in points for top 35, so we don't have to worry about that. I know the first week and the second week you had to be like pretty fast on the short runs or in qualifying just to even make the race, because we had some good guys fighting for 4 spots, like me, Cabry, Reed. Like we had a lot of good cars. So now that we're locked in, we can kind of focus on that long run speed and try to make some strategies and get one done.
I'm sure those were some long nights too, having to race a whole other deal, beforehand. Last week it was an actual race, right? The first week and this week it was a qualifying. It was fastest lap, but still, just to add on another hour or so to, these races are already pretty long, kind of endurance races. So is it a relief to just kind of not have to worry about driving that long in the night, I guess?
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, you can kind of just focus I guess just on the long stretch. I think we're pretty solid in points right now. We were 11th coming in today, so I know I don't want to be the guy to make it in on points. I want to try to get a win here, but at least we do kind of have that going for us, so we can go. We can play conservative or go aggressive whenever we need to.
Yeah, you're at the point in the year where now, you're what, 3 races in. You can at least go for some wins being that far up in the points. You don't really have to be like, oh, well, playoffs are next week. We're like right here on the bubble or right here, we have to finish here to make it in. Like, you can go for it right now. And I think that's the great thing about this series too, is, and that's every week really with the different car and track combos, because there's some weeks you're not going to be good with some certain track and car combos, and there's some weeks you circle and you're like, okay, this is going to be my week. How do you feel the rest of the season? You feel like you got some track circled, some track and car combos?
Yeah, absolutely. I think we have some ones we can perform at. We also do have still some wild cards. I know we have the next gen at Talladega again, so that's definitely a wild card there. It's going to be pretty much survival, and
yeah,
probably someone might get a little lock in there at the point of getting a win. So we'll see. We're all pretty good. I'm pretty good at super speedway racing, so I think we might have a pretty good shot as long as we stay out of trouble. That's just been my focus this year: stay out of trouble, try to minimize mistakes. I know we had a pretty big mistake last week at Twin, but we'll be good.
It happens. So how did you hear about the league? How did you get into Monday Night Racing?
Absolutely. So I'm actually pretty good friends with James Bickford. Friends with Reed Wilson. Obviously, we kind of started the team together, and that's what we're doing. So yeah, I'm pretty good friends with Ford. I met him back in the day, Legend Car Racing. So just kind of been around with the league. I kind of was shooting the shit with Ford at the end of last season. I was like, hey, I'm gonna come race next season. He's like, yeah, okay. And I was like, I bet you I'm gonna win a race. So we just been kind of talking junk back and forth. But oh yeah, so I've been around, and shout out to Charlotte Phoenix actually. My sim's not really up to date, so I'm at Charlotte Phoenix. I've been doing all the Monday night races here on their next level racing sim rig. So thank you to them as well.
Man, I'm jealous. I'm jealous of that because that's a nice little hub they got there for sure.
Oh yeah, definitely helps out.
Yeah. but yeah, thanks for coming on. Congrats on the strong run. Sorry you didn't get the W, but it seems like they're just around the corner. So yeah, we look forward to seeing what you can do the rest of the season.
Absolutely. Hopefully we'll be talking to y'all next week again.
Yeah, we'll see. All right. Thanks, Joey. Right. Thanks for joining us.
Yeah, have a good one.
Yeah, so that's Joey
That was Padgett. Joey Padgett. Yeah. I felt so bad for him, man, off the final corner, and I don't know. I know Corey had to do what he had to do, but I kind of wish it was just the two of them, and then everybody behind them.
Yeah, for sure. I don't know. You just hate to see like an outside factor kind of play into a finish like that. But I don't know. It is for fun. I mean, I guess people are going for championships and wins and money and stuff like that, but it is racing. It's supposed to be fun, I guess. But well.
In the end, these guys are, they're all doing it for fun. You're doing it for fun. Everybody's doing it for fun. I mean, yeah, it gets so heated. We know it. It's been that way all 6 seasons now. So, it's going to get that way. But, it was a fun race tonight. I'll say that. That's for sure.
Yeah. I enjoyed it. One thing about crashing out early is I got to watch the finish. It was an exciting finish for sure. But yeah, what do we got next week?
Is next week the Texas with the Xfinity cars? I believe. I would have to get the schedule. I believe.
Yeah. There's the schedule.
There's the schedule. It is.
Look at that.
It is Texas with the Xfinity cars. I was a week early last week. I think I said that to Chase or somebody, one of our guests.
That's right. Yeah, you did say that to Chase.
I guess because I'm anxious to watch the race there. I don't know. I mean, it's Legacy Texas, so I guess Legacy Texas is better than regular Texas. So
before they did that horrible thing to turns 1 and 2.
Yeah, we don't need to talk about that. I'm glad this league sees the light and they run the league at Old Texas. So a few viewers are new to the show or new to iRacing, Legacy on iRacing means the older version before it was paved. So this will be pre-2017 Texas. This will be the good version of Texas with the Xfinity cars. And as always, it should be a good race. It'll be about tire conservation. It'll be about if anybody can maybe work in a second groove in 3 and 4, maybe, or 1 and 2. It depends on how the setup is. It's always exciting. What are you expecting, Mike? Some of the same, or got different factors, or what you got?
Well, you could take the Xfinity car to like, I don't know, what's the worst track to just.
I don't know.
I'm trying to think of what the worst.
I don't know.
To New Texas.
Yeah, there we go. Let's go New Texas. Yeah, there we go.
And it would still be a good race because that car just. And I think that's one we tend to do a lot in this league is run the Xfinity car. I mean, like Corey Heim was saying, that's what his other 2 wins came in an Xfinity car because we run it a lot. And yeah, it really shows who it's not a crapshoot, right? It's more so about who's better at diving deeper into the corners and having car control and who can be faster through the center of the corner and all that, and saving tires. Sometimes with this car, it comes down to who can save tires the best, play the strategy the best. So it really, I think it tests the Xfinity car on iRacing tests all the different driving skills that there are. You really have to be perfect in like every single category to win a race there. I don't know if you disagree or anything, but
no, you're 100% right. No, I mean, compared to this week too, like you go from like the slowest car in the Mazdas or one of the slowest to now obviously you're back to a more normal type of race. You're at Texas, 1.5 miles. You're with the Xfinity car, which a lot of these guys in this league are very familiar with, not just, on the sim, but in real life, like Corey. Corey hasn't run Xfinity, but he kind of knows. I know Raja's run the Xfinity car. Ryan Vargas, Robbie Lyons, he's run the Xfinity car.
A lot of guys in this series that work on Xfinity cars.
Yeah, exactly. That too. They're familiar with it.
Colin Fern.
Yeah.
He's coming back.
So this is a very familiar car to a lot of people, and I think that's what's going to make the race interesting because I think you're going to have about 20, 25 guys that could probably win the race. Which will make it a very competitive field. Mike, I'm expecting you to finish better than 45th because I don't think it's possible to finish better than 40 or worse than 45th next week.
If I finish worse than 45th next week, I think we have some serious problems on our hand. But no, I think that's one. I mean, it depends on how the cautions fall, and there's always a little bit of luck. Can you dodge the wrecks? But we've tended to have really long green flag runs when we run the Xfinity car. So I think you might see a wreck early, maybe a wreck or two early on, and then a long green flag run to end it, or vice versa. Start out with a long run and then a couple at the end. But yeah, I'm going for that top 25. I think, so far my best finish on the year's 28th. Let's go for 25th.
There you go.
He's a little, as Corey LaJoy would say, stacking pennies, right?
Yeah, we're stacking pennies in this league. That's gonna be the motto the rest of the year. Just go top 25, and you'll be fine. But yeah. So we thank everybody for joining us tonight. Great show. What do you want to say?
Podium. Thank you,
Podium. Yes, thank you.
Stretch. Thank you, Monday Night Racing, and all the partners out there.
Yeah,
we couldn't do this all without you.
Yeah, thank you guys. This was a great first show for us here on Podium. We thank them again. We thank frontstretch.com, obviously. All the partners, as we said. But yeah, we'll be back here at the same time next week. November 28th, that is the date. Legacy, Texas with the Xfinity cars. Tune in next week here on Podium Esports. Coverage will begin at about 7:45, I believe, Eastern time. We'll be back here directly after the race. But until then, I am Brandon Hoff. That is Michael Massey. We will see you guys next week. Take care.